And so the mantle passes from 45 years of Mets who have played at Shea Stadium through Johan Santana yesterday, and now to Oliver Perez to keep the Mets and to keep Shea alive for at least another day.
Well, I'll tell you, quite a lot of pressure on that young man, number 46, Oliver Perez, but he's been here before. 2006, 7th game against the Cardinals. Outstanding game, always remembered, of course, for the Endy Chavez catch.
Well, amongst all the celebrities here today, all the names from Mets past, none bigger than the franchise number 41, and how appropriate that he pulled down the number for the final regularly scheduled game at Shea Stadium. Tom Seaver and Mr. Met on the same page.
I didn't know they were that friendly.
It's a day for sentimentality.
There we go. There we go.
And Tom getting a thunderous ovation. And I think it's only appropriate that on the final day at Shea, the banners are out, because after all, Met fans became known very early in Met history, first at the Polo Grounds and then in the early years here at Shea, for their bedsheet banners, and that begat Banner Day, one of the most creative and memorable promotions the Mets have ever had.
I was just seeing that sign, the first one we had. I gave my best years here at Shea. That's the appropriate one for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, probably so. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, it's time to get it on.
Well, the crowd reaction yesterday from before the first pitch was fantastic. There was a playoff atmosphere here yesterday, even more so today, and so much on the line here. And you know, you don't know what's going to happen between this moment and the next 3 hours. But so much is on the line for this team, for their legacy, for this franchise, in addition to the fact that they're going to be closing the old ballpark. And there isn't a guy who was here last year, I'm sure, that doesn't feel the weight of that right now. Here's your fourth starting lineup for the Marlins. The one key change is that Hanley Ramirez is not playing. Cameron Maybin is. Maybin, the rookie that they got from the Tigers in the Miguel Cabrera-Dontrelle Willis trade, has had a fabulous start with Florida, playing for the first time in this series. But Alfredo Amezaga will be at shortstop and not Ramirez.
Well, Oliver Perez, 10-7 record in those 33 starts. 16 no decisions for Oliver, as he's pitched better than that record. He's kind of tumbled down, though, the last few games. He'll have to pick it up today on 3 days rest.
And the Rico Mets defense, you see the changes in the lineup from yesterday. You got Castro behind the plate today with the left-hander on the hill. Nick Evans out in left field. And boy, Ramon Martinez, we talked about him yesterday. He's been in the middle of things as far as his last 3 or 4 ball games. He's at second base. What a job he's done. Who would have thought it?
Met fans getting their final look at the old ballpark in Queens, and all Johan Santana can do today is be a cheerleader. I asked Jerry Manuel before the game today whether in an all-hands-on-deck mode is Santana down in the bullpen. He said, "No, you trying to get me in trouble?" He said, "I'm trying to survive here." Santana has done all that he can do for the moment, and now it's up to Perez and his mates as Oliver faces the Marlins for the 6th time this season. He has 3 wins and 2 no decisions against Florida this year. It's the first time he'll be facing the 21-year-old Cameron Maybin. 28 at bats for the Marlins, hitting .500. First pitch is up and away for ball 1. So the game delayed 51 minutes by rain. There are the numbers for Oliver against the Marlins this year. And a swing and a miss at a fastball, 1-1. What about the nerves for Ollie today?
Well, I think you can see him take a deep breath after he missed that first pitch for a ball, and took a big deep breath and said, let's throw one right down the middle, take our shot. And I think once you get the first out as a starting pitcher, then you go into getting the hitters out. But that first out is always key.
Maybin fouls it back, and it's 1-2.
Maybin, one of those guys that legitimately a 5-tool player.
Maybin had back-to-back 4-hit games for the Marlins last weekend, and you can hear this place exploding from the first batter. And the breaking ball in there for a call, strike 3. That's the first out of the day.
Backdoor slider, perfect pitch, framed nicely by Castro. Maben down.
Beautiful pitch on the outside corner right there, Ronnie, after four straight fastballs.
And Jerry Davis behind the plate, a good veteran umpire, the right person and the right place.
John Baker hitting number 2 in the order. Baker 2 for 7 in this series, getting another start against the lefty. He went 0 for 4 against Santana yesterday. Baker takes ball 1. So you've got rookies hitting 1 and 2 in the order for the Marlins today. Marlins well remember that they took the Mets season away from them last year. In the air to shallow left. In comes Nick Evans. 2 out.
That's just some nerves on that fly ball. I mean, an easy catch, but, you know, we're talking about Nick Evans, who was in Binghamton all year.
From Double-A to playing in the last game of the season for all the marbles.
26th major league start for Evans. And playing a key role today. So Ollie's retired the first 2. Now Jorge Cantu, who's just 2 for 17 lifetime against Perez. And Cantu hits it hard to the right at Reyes. No 7-run first inning this time. A 1-2-3 opening inning for Oliver Perez, and the Mets have come to bat against Scott Olsen with no score. Here's your Geico starting lineup for the Mets today. Nick Evans, the addition to the lineup, facing the left-hander Olsen, against whom he's done well, but he'll hit 5th for the first time in the major leagues. David Wright riding a 9-game hitting streak, hot to the finish. Reyes, Beltran, Delgado, and Wright have all played with today's game in at least 159 games this year. The Mets are the first team to have that many players play at least 159 games in 40 years.
Wow.
Since the 1968 Cubs.
And the Rico defense, as you can see, Alfredo Amezaga, shortstop, replacing Hanley Ramirez. That's the big change there. Ramirez with the bad shoulder, jammed it yesterday, making one of those diving plays, so they're going to miss his bat.
Jose Reyes led off yesterday's game with a base hit. Stole a base, scored a run, got all Santana would need right at the start. Baker engaging Reyes there before the opening at bat.
A little gamesmanship, maybe.
In at the corners, potential bunt. Maben playing a shallow center field.
Scott Olsen facing the Mets for the 5th time this year, and he misses low ball 1. Olsen just 24 years old. This is his 13th career start against the Mets, all in the last 3 seasons. That's more than the Mets have faced any other starting pitcher.
And 101st start of his young career.
The Mets have had their way with him. They've just toasted him over his young career.
More this year than ever before, as he misses outside to Reyes. 2-1. Olsen is 0-3, 6.95 against the Mets this season.
And 0-1 with an 8 ERA here at Shea Stadium.
Reyes trying to drop down a bunt with Cantu playing back at third, and it's 2-2. Well, Reyes has been the barometer for whether the Mets win or lose throughout his career, but no more so than this month.
Well, also a note, the Mets is leading the major leagues in first inning runs scored, 139. This game today would be a beautiful time to do it.
And Reyes has had 52 first inning hits. That's a Met record. Fouls that one off his leg. 52 of his league-leading 203 hits have come in the opening inning.
Going after a bad pitch right there. Lucky he got a piece of it. This is the games, and Ronnie, we showed it early with Oliver Perez. It's the game as you're playing, you take a deep breath before you get in the box.
2-2 to Reyes. Off the plate. Change up from Olsen, and it's 3-2. Again, Jerry Manuel has stacked the top of his order with Beltran and Delgado hitting second and third, and then David Wright cleanup.
Everybody on the top step.
3-2. Reyes pops it up. In comes Cameron Maben, the rookie center fielder. And there's one away. That's a very odd way of catching a ball.
Oh, side saddle, right?
Yep. Chucky Carr style.
Chucky Carr style reminds me a little bit of the center fielder for the Blue Jays in the 90s when they won.
Devon White.
Devon White used to catch him like that.
Here's Beltran, 3 for 7 in this series, and he has great numbers against Olsen, hitting .444 against Olsen with 3 home runs.
Carlos has been steady in September. Tremendous numbers from the right side of the plate.
Popped up foul coming back out of play. They're underway in Milwaukee. CC Sabathia pitching for the 3rd straight start on 3 days rest. Angel Guzman, the young right-hander, going for the Cubs today. Cubs have nothing to play for except to help the Mets, which they did yesterday. Beltran pops one up along the left field line, right over near the tarp, and into the crowd with 2 guys up on the tarp. Can't remember the last time I saw that.
They're ready.
Meziga and Cantu doing some climbing.
It's like a circus act here.
That's right.
Bring on the dancing bears.
Lucky it's not those rolling logs.
0-2 to Beltran. Just off the corner, and it's 1-2.
Similar pitch, Ronnie. They got Cameron Maben on the called 3rd strike from Perez. Boy, that's a tough one to take.
1-2. It's taken low. 2-2. That's what's going on at Miller Park, and we'll keep you right up to date. Sabathia, who has been just everything the Brewers could have asked from him. But how about the way the Cubs held off the Brewers yesterday after the Cub outfield turned into a circus? 4-3. Chicago hanging on. Bases loaded, 1 out of the 8th, and Michael Wirtz comes in to get 2 enormous outs to help the Mets out.
A guy who's really been forgotten in that Cubs bullpen, Angel Guzman, who's starting today for the Cubs, coming off Tommy John surgery just recently.
Beltran bounces one foul. We saw Guzman pitch against the Mets in that series here at Shea this week. He pitched 2 hitless innings against the Mets in the game Santana started on Tuesday. 2-2. Bounce foul again. If we do get to a 1-game playoff tomorrow, it'll probably be a night game here at Shea.
Yes.
I think they're talking about a 7:30 start tomorrow. The Mets will have Pedro going on 3 days rest. The Brewers have no idea who they're going to throw tomorrow if there's a game. Their rotation is all messed up. 2-2, and Beltran hits it hard, but right at Uggla, who was playing near the bag, and he throws him out. Good defensive positioning by the Marlins to get Beltran 2 away.
Well, good at bat by Carlos. Fought off a lot of tough pitches. Hits a rocket right at Uggla, right in front of it. Stays in front of it. Well, here's the Mets' big game player this year. He's driven in so many big runs, key runs. And I have a hunch that the Mets are kind of looking for him to show the way offensively here. Be the man that gets the big hits.
Full over shift on against Delgado. And he takes the slider for a strike. Delgado drove in a 1st inning run yesterday with a sacrifice fly to give him 115 for the year. That's
incredible.
3 players with 110 or more RBI. Good breaking ball by Olsen. 0-2.
Good slider here from Olsen, right on the corner.
Cubs did not score in the top of the 1st in Milwaukee. The Brewers coming to bat. 0-2. Blown away with the slider. 1-2 to Delgado.
Now Delgado's hit at a .342 clip with 17 runs, 7 home runs, and 19 RBI in his last 20 ball games. That's September in a stretch run.
He goes the other way through the empty part of the infield, and the Mets have their first hit of the game.
Yeah, nice hitting by Carlos, going the other way, trying to come inside and jam him. That ball's over the middle of the plate, though, right, Keith?
Yep, but nice hitting. Nice little, almost an inside-out, stayed level. You let the other guy, you got right up there, wears out right-handers, get it started. You never know.
I'll be interested to watch the approach that Olsen has against Wright with the young Nick Evans behind him in the order all day long.
There's Todd Zeal. Every ex-Met is here for the final day at Shea. David hitting .390 against lefties. And he takes outside ball one. Wright has tied Mike Piazza's club record for RBIs with 124. And he has been hot with the hits coming down the stretch. During a 9-game hitting streak, he's hitting an even .500, 16 for 32. Olsen's 1-0, and he misses inside with the slider, 2-0. Olsen throwing a lot of pitches early.
Let's see Keith early here what kind of pitch he gets. 2-0 count. Let's see if he counters with a fastball or a breaking ball. Breaking ball means that he is thinking of Evans in the on-deck circle.
Well, came with a slider, and it's 3-0. Well, keep in mind, though, that Nick Evans is in the lineup today, partly because he is 6 for 10 against Scott Olsen.
Let's see if Jerry gives a hit sign here, 3-0, early in the game.
Changeup called by catcher John Baker.
What does that tell you?
And Wright takes the strike on the inside corner, 3-1. So clearly they are not attacking Wright with Evans hitting behind him.
Fastball away.
Driven to center field. Maben is in front of it, and that retires the side. So Wright hit the ball hard. A hit and one left. We head for the second. Ollie back to the mound. No score at Shea. Well, these are the scenarios. Mets win, Brewers lose. The Mets will be in Chicago on Wednesday. Brewers win, Mets lose. Brewers will be in Philly on Wednesday. Both win or both lose. One game playoff tomorrow here at Shea. We're hearing it's going to be 7:30. That is not official, but either way, no matter what happens, SNY will be here. I'll be here. Ronnie will be here. Kevin will be here, and we will have pre- and post-game coverage. Matt Yaloff, Lee Mazzilli with coverage as well before and after every Mets postseason game, including a one-game playoff if one is played tomorrow. Mike Jacobs leads off in the second inning with no score. And Jacobs takes ball one. Of course, I've got double duty Radcliffe sitting next to me here.
That's right. That's very good.
Do the game on one network, do the pre and post on another.
I'd be happy to just do it. That'd be good.
You're obviously in big demand.
I don't know. No, they just ran out of people. They're pulling them off the streets.
2-0 to Jacobs, who's 0 for 3 in this series.
Jacobs in the lineup, didn't play yesterday against Santana. He's hitting cleanup today. 224 hitter with 7 home runs against lefties. He can be pitched to, but you make a mistake, he's dangerous.
Hit hard, caught by Delgado. 1 out.
Nice play off the line. Beautifully done. The fans love it. Nice play, Carlos.
So 1 out and nobody on. 4 consecutive hitters just retired by Perez to start the day. And now Dan Uggla has had a very rough series. He's gone 0 for 9 with 4 strikeouts in the first 2 games. And he takes up and away for ball 1.
His numbers his splits are unbelievable this year. We're looking at a man with 31 home runs, only 2 against left-handers.
That's hard to believe.
And hitting on the interstate against them.
And really, that's reflective of this entire Florida team. It's a right-hand dominated ball club, and yet as a team the Marlins are hitting only .233 against lefties. Not at all what you'd expect. Slider hit off the pitching hand of Perez, and that'll be an infield hit for Uggla. Oliver couldn't resist. He's not even shaking the hand, so apparently he's just fine. But Michael Herbst, the assistant trainer, will come out to be sure.
Ronnie, that's just a natural reaction right there, correct?
Yeah, and it's too bad because that would have been right to Ramon Martinez, who was shading Uggla up the middle. That would have been a 2 or 3 or 4 hopper to him. But, you know, I said it yesterday, the guys that do that are the guys that don't finish in a fielding position. So they're out of position. So your first reaction is somehow try to make a play.
Well, the Mets are at play by Delgado, the line drive off the bat of Jacobs. Well, that's big right now. They'd be runners on first and second, nobody out.
By the way, the average heart rate of the bullpen right now is 212.
Well, it's worth noting that other than Santana, who went yesterday, and Pedro, who would go tomorrow, everybody is available in the Mets bullpen. But in talking to Jerry Manuel before the game, Mike Pelfrey, who pitched on Friday, while available, is only available for a short stint. If the Mets need a long man out of the bullpen, it will probably not be Pelfrey. At least that's what Jerry told us before the game. He said it's more likely to be Figueroa or Nice or Knight if the Mets need somebody early.
Well, he's going to take some tosses here. Holly. Mets could not afford to have him leave early, obviously. He's all right.
So Jerry Manuel and Dan Warthen and Michael Herbst will all head back to the dugout, satisfied that Ollie's going to be okay to continue.
And it proves that Jerry can go out to the mound and not make a pitching change also.
So now Josh Willingham will step in, and this has been a dangerous man for Ollie. Willingham 7 for 20 against Perez, hitting .350 with 3 home runs. Willingham homered in the opening game of the series Friday night. And the fastball from Perez outside. Ball 1.
I thought coming into this game, I try to look at the lineups like I used to when I pitched, and I always looked at here, this Willingham spot as a spot that's going to be a tough road for Oliver.
Popped up. Ramon Martinez drifting out. 2 away. So Perez, after getting hit on his pitching hand, gets a big out. 2 away, and now Cody Ross coming up, and Ross likewise has been very tough on Ollie. 25 at bats, a .360 average, and 3 home runs against Perez.
Well, Cody Ross just missed one last night to end that ball game off of Johan Santana. Took the ball, went back to the track to end that game, and everybody kind of had to catch their breath after that one.
Santana was asked if he was worried. He said, nah, we had Andy out there.
That's right. Andy makes that fence about 18 feet high, by the way.
I have to tell you, when they showed a bunch of highlights last inning on the Diamond Vision to the fans here at Shea, highlights from all over Mets history from different eras, the highlight that got the biggest cheer was Andy's catch. It's amazing. I mean, the Mets lost that game, and yet Andy became a folk hero that day.
You know, I was sitting here with you, Gary. We were sitting in the SNY has their own box here, and I'll tell you, I haven't had that happen since I left playing baseball. Chills when Andy caught that ball against the fence. That was an amazing moment.
2-0 to Ross. Up and away, and Perez falls behind 3-0 with Amezaga on deck. Well, the Brewers did not score in the bottom of the first against Angel Guzman. They got a runner to second base, but Prince Fielder struck out to end the inning. So they're in the second now with no score.
And does Cody Ross get a 3-0 hit sign? This team's got nothing to play for.
Amezaga on deck, and it's inside ball 4, and Ross is on with a walk. And you can certainly understand if Perez was pitching around Ross. Amezaga not as much of a threat right-handed as left.
He is a better left-hand hitter, but this year he's hitting .262 against lefties. He's really improved. He was always a big out right-handed. He's had himself a nice little year. You see his batting average.
He's been doing a lot of smiling today. Have you noticed that?
Well, it's easy to see with all that eye black. I mean, it's
not eye black, that's face black.
Yeah, exactly.
2 on, 2 out, and Amezaga takes inside, so that's 5 in a row out of the strike zone from Perez.
Amezaga looks like he's halfway there to going to a Kiss concert.
And Dan Warthen is heading out to the mound. Since he got hit on the pitching hand, Ollie has thrown 7 pitches. 6 of the 7 have been out of the strike zone. The only one that was in was the ball Willingham popped up.
Danny just trying to settle him down. A lot of times when you do sustain it hits your pitching hand, or maybe a comebacker hits you in the ankle or whatever, it starts to smart as you go along. It doesn't hurt right off the bat, but as you go along, it starts to give you some discomfort. Maybe that's what's happened to all of them.
So that graphic that Perez leads the major leagues in walks with his 103rd today. Mezzica fouls it off. Only one Met has ever led the major leagues in walks for a full season, and it wasn't you.
Oh.
No, you led the National League. So did David Cohn, but Mike Perez was the only Met to lead the major leagues.
What, 84?
83, 113 walks in 1983.
Taco.
Ronnie led the National League in 85, and Coney led the National League in 92. 1-1. Swing and a miss by Mezzica, 1-2.
92, that's the year that David was traded over to the Toronto Blue Jays for their stretch run.
That makes it even more amazing.
Yeah.
He wasn't here for the last 2 months. The crowd in playoff mode. 1-2. Line center field. Beltran right there waiting. Side retired. Mezzica hit it hard. Beltran on the right spot. 2 left. Still no score. Well, Met fans, you've been through thick and you've been through thin for your team all season long, and now SNY and their Bermuda Department of Tourism want to thank you for your support with a chance to win a trip to the beautiful island of Bermuda. Just visit sny.tv/Bermuda today for your chance to win. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Yeah, guys, I got to tell you, you're talking about the crowd here. There's not a seat available. And coming in today, got here about 9:15. I've never seen so many people in the parking lot that early, tailgating like it was a football game. Now, I know it's Sunday, but still, it was that type of mood. And I got to tell you, being in the clubhouse the whole day today, the mood was so light. It was so airy, a lot of joking. The guys were ready to kind of embrace this. I just felt it was a lot different than last year. Nick Evans, who leads off now, I asked him when he found out. He said he didn't know last night. He didn't even think about it, so he didn't look at the big board when he came in. He was eating breakfast and got the nice surprise. And, yeah, big smile on his face. He's ready to go today, guys.
Evans hitting 5th in the order, leading off the home second, and he flares one into shallow center, and Cameron Maybin is there to put it away for the first out. So 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with the studio. A New York State Smokers Quit Line game update, and Matt Yeloff.
All right, Gary, it's Brian Custer here. We go into the bottom of the first inning. Prince Fielder strikes out with Mike Cameron on at second. So Milwaukee gets nothing. It's 0-0. But the Cubs gotten a single from Aramis Ramirez. It's in the top of the second.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. Ably filling in for Matt, who was out at the ballpark here today.
Yeah, he and Maz had their pregame show. Great job.
Here's Ramon Martinez, a sudden hero for the Mets. And he takes ball 1. 4th consecutive start for Ramon Martinez. His only 4 starts in the major leagues this year. And he has certainly filled a need. Had an RBI double in the game yesterday to drive in the second Met run.
Olsen doing a good job so far, keeping the ball down.
Ryan Church on deck. 2-1 to Martinez, who has been very patient through his early at bats as a Met. While he's staying hydrated. Two-1 to Martinez. On the outside corner, a strike, and Olsen gets even. Olsen not a big strikeout pitcher. 5 strikeouts per 9 innings this year, down from his first couple of years. Hit to shortstop right at a Mezzica. And Martinez retired 2 out.
Crowd very hush.
It went from raucous to very quiet.
Yes,
very
they
quickly.
are watching intently, and I know they're scoreboard watching.
The Cubs just got a base hit from Micah Hoffpower and have runners at first and third with 1 out in the top of the second against Sabathia. 17. I know that number.
Nice.
Doesn't have an X through it or anything. Here's Ryan Church, 0 for 5 in this series. And he takes outside for ball 1. Oh,
good slider.
Took something off that. Sorry, Garrett.
Just his placement has been impeccable so far for Olsen. He's had the ball down on the corners.
The Cubs have a run home in the second, and thus the roar from the crowd as Church swings and misses. The fans had their eyes glued on that scoreboard.
Unbelievable, right?
I mean, a cheer went up the moment that one was posted. Let's go Cubs. Wrigley Nation. Swing and a miss, and Olsen gets Church to end the inning. First strikeout for Scott Olsen. So the Mets are done in the second. Perez back to the mound for the third. Mets and Marlins, no score. We go to the bottom of the second inning. The Mets and Marlins, no score. Scott Olsen will lead off for Florida. Olsen with 8 hits this year. And there's a strike from Oliver Perez. Well, it is the final game that we're broadcasting on SNY from the Ralph Kiner television booth. And Ralph, I know you were on with a pregame show here today, but we had to have you at least in here for the final game at Shea Stadium. And I don't know whether you get to take the plaque with you or not that's on the outside of the booth, but I know that the Citi Field television booth will also be the Ralph Kiner television booth.
And that's good news. I'm happy to hear that. And now the other thing is that when we came to Shea back in 1964, it was one of the first parks, if not the first, ever built for television. We had our own studio downstairs, and we had, of course, a good booth here, which is the same one.
Olsen down looking for the first out.
And it was actually all the other booths were for writers. And of course they had radio, but that was always off to the side because in television you want it on the side, and we never had it. Now here, when we came here back in '64, we had that.
You know, it's hard for people to remember, Ralph, as Cameron Maben gets set to step in, that when this place opened, it was considered state of the art. I mean, it's obviously not today, 45 years later, but then this was the most magnificent ballpark that had ever been built.
I heard you say you just thought it was so big when you came here as a kid.
Yeah.
It was big, and of course it was. We all thought it was really good, and the fans flocked in. And Casey Stengel said, I don't know whether it's the World's Fairs that's drawing the fans, but he says maybe it's the New York Mets. And we had a great year that year attendance-wise.
2-1 to Cameron Maben. John Baker on deck. Well, Ralph, after the game today, all of the former players are going to be coming out on the field and celebrating the finale of this ballpark. What are you going to be thinking about?
Well, obviously you're going to think about the past and the great things that happened here over the years, and a ballpark has a history behind it that you could never duplicate in the movies. You have the ups and downs, the good, bad, good news, the bad news, all the things that take place, the heartbreaks, the happiness. No one ever saw a more enthusiastic crowd than the crowd that saw the 69 Mets win the National League title there.
Maben draws a one-out walk, second by Perez. Let's check in with the studio. We'll be back with Ralph in just a moment. New York State Smokers Quit Line game update and Brian Custer.
All right, Gary, as you mentioned earlier, in the top of the second inning, Ronnie Cedeno at the plate. And you know what? The Brewers try to turn two to no avail. Ramos Ramirez scores. It's 1-0 Cubs. It's now in the bottom of the second. By the way, Jets up 31-0 at half.
Gosh, the Jets? Are you kidding? There's a call strike to John Baker, 0-1.
Brian Custer said that like he was shocked.
Well, you know, it's only fitting. It's the final day of Shea, and of course the Jets, the former co-tenants here at Shea Stadium, it would be appropriate for them to have a big day.
Maybe it's an omen, a good omen.
Well, it certainly was in 1969. The Jets, the Mets, and the Knickerbockers all won the 69-70 series. Amazing.
The Jets won the AFL championship game here that final week of '68. Beat the Raiders in miraculous fashion. Sorry,
I was crushed watching it in San Francisco.
1-1 to Baker on the outside corner, 1-2.
Al Davis, of course, the owner of the Oakland Ball Club, and he was a Brooklyn man right from day one, and a big baseball fan.
Ralph, all your years here, what is your most memorable, fondest memory?
Well, I can't really boil it down to one. There's no question about when the Mets won in '69. That was the greatest thrill, vicarious thrill I ever had in my baseball career, because I never played in the World Series, and that was really the epitome of enthusiasm and the spontaneous result of the fans on the field tearing up the grass and all that. I don't think there was any more enthusiasm expressed than the fans in that year. And of course, the Mets never figured to win at all that year. They were 101 in Vegas odds. And of course, they beat Atlanta, which was another tough one for them, and won the World Series against Baltimore. And Seaver, the only losing pitcher at that time in World Series history for the New York Mets.
Of course, you learned that you don't wear your best suit to a locker room celebration.
Well, I had a terrible sport coat I never liked, and I wore that. And of course, it was ruined. And the other thing I found out right away was that champagne is to be drunk. And not to be sprayed.
Baker down swinging for the second out. Third strikeout for Oliver.
Frustrated here is Baker with this good slider. As Baker, who showed some really good at-bats against left-handed pitching, doesn't look great there.
Well, Ollie can be tough on lefties.
Yeah.
The sidearm delivery, he got the hard slider, he changes speeds with it. He's not an easy mark for left-hand hitters.
So here's Cantu, grounded out his first time up with Maben at first and 2 out. No score. We're in the third. Cubs leading the Brewers 1-0 in the second. And the breaking ball low and inside for ball 1. You see the update from Milwaukee. Now they've finished the second inning, so they go to the third with the Cubs up 1-0. Foul back. Ralph, I know you've seen great pitching performances up and down the line here at Shea Stadium, from the days of Seaver through the days of Good, all the way to the present day. But have you ever seen anything like what Santana did yesterday?
Well, of course, it was really an important day for the Mets. They had to win that ball game, and he did a wonderful job. And the thing I liked about it was they didn't go to the bullpen. And that was the answer to my prayer, I guess.
Ryan Church under Cantu's fly ball. Ralph, we bid you farewell from the Ralph Kiner television booth here at Shea for the last time, but we look forward to having you in the new Ralph Kiner television booth at Citi Field.
All right, Gary, I look forward to that too. And of course, Keith, we'll see you in Florida.
Yes, can't wait, Ralph. We'll have dinner, have a martini together.
Well, Hanley Ramirez may have himself a base, but he doesn't have a place in the lineup today after really doing a great job the last 2 days with his bat and with his glove. He made this incredible play to throw out Delgado yesterday, but in so doing, he exacerbated a shoulder and a knee injury that he had been working with for the last couple of weeks. And that's why Hanley Ramirez is not in the lineup today.
Hitting .301 on the season.
One strike to Ramon Castro leading off the third.
Perilously close to .299.
What are you saying?
No, nothing.
By the way, in Milwaukee, in the third inning, Castro rips one into left field, a base hit. And the Mets get the leadoff man on in the home third. Second hit off Olsen.
Fastball down and in, wanted it away. Castro, who can hit. We know that. Just ropes that ball into right field, sets up a sacrifice situation for Ollie.
In Milwaukee in the third inning, Carlos Zambrano pinch hit for the starting pitcher Angel Guzman. Now, I don't think Zambrano's going to pitch today, but the starter is out of the game, so Lou Piniella is going to use a lot of bullpen if he's going to win that game today. Perez set to bunt, and he lays one down for Cantu. He goes to second with a slow-footed Castro. Relay to first, and Ollie beats it out.
Well, nice play by Jorge Cantu. He played aggressively in. You saw that shot, overhead shot White here. Look how aggressively in. You know he's going to bunt.
And honestly, this is on Oliver Keith. He's got to swing the bat there. I mean, there's no place to bunt it.
Either bunt down the first base line because you've got the first baseman holding the runner on.
Because that's a good bunt and it costs.
So instead, he's at first base with one out. And Jose Reyes coming up.
And Ollie hustled down that line to prevent the double play.
Reyes takes low for ball one. I want to get back to the Cubs for just a second because the Cubs, their last game here at Shea, used a lineup of backups. Their game yesterday, they used a lineup of backups. Today, they pull their starting pitcher after 2 innings and send Zambrano up to pinch hit, which is not a bad move since he can hit. But it's a case of Lou Piniella needing to serve his needs before the needs of the New York Mets.
Well, they're always going to plan on using Guzman only for 2 or 3 innings at the most because coming off that surgery, he's a relief pitcher, and they're just going to, you know, meld it together with that entire bullpen, almost like a spring training kind of way of pitching the game.
3-0 now to Reyes. By the way, the Cubs have Soriano and Terrio and Lee and Ramirez and Johnson all in the lineup today, so they're playing most of their regulars. At least at the beginning.
Well, they don't start till Wednesday. You have to have your regulars in.
3-0 to Reyes, who flying to center his first time up. And he takes a strike. Say hitting over 400 for his career against Olsen. The Mets have a lot of gaudy numbers against Scott Olsen. Pulled foul.
6 guys over 300, don't they, Gary?
Carlos Beltran has just had tremendous success against Olsen.
Three and 2 with 1 out. Not running, and Reyes down on the changeup. Second strikeout for Olsen, who came from 3-0 down to strike out Reyes.
Yeah, it's a good changeup, 3-2. Just really pulled the string on Jose.
And that's the man, if you're going to beat the Mets, that's the man you got to keep off the bases.
And they've done that in this series. Reyes is just 1 for 11 in the 3 games, but he got the base hit his first time up yesterday that got the Mets the only run they needed. Now Beltran, who grounded out his first time up, a sharply hit ball to Uggla. And he fouls this one back over our heads, 0-1.
Who's going to blink first?
Beltran fouls it back, and Olsen ahead 0-2.
You know, to me, what I find interesting is that the Mets game was going to be an hour earlier, of course, but because of the rain, an hour later, so both games were at the same time, so it really is going back and forth there. We're going to have news bang bang in this game.
This game in the bottom of the 3rd, the other in the top of the 3rd. 0-2 to Beltran. Got ahead of that one and pulled a foul. Olsen used a lot of off-speed stuff today.
He's
Sliders and changes.
Yes, he threw it last time too. He's developed a changeup. He was basically, when he came up, he was a 1-speed pitcher. Hard slider, hard fastball. Now he's mixed in an off-speed pitch. He takes something off his slider once in a while.
Ryan Terrio grounded into a double play to end the top of the 3rd, so they go to the bottom of the 3rd, still 1-0 Cubs. 0-2 to Beltran. Up and away with the fastball. It just seems when Olsen's throwing his fastball, he's not throwing it for strikes.
Yeah, it's almost he's pitching around the strike zone with his fastball to get to his breaking stuff.
And Beltran hits one in the air along the right field line. Ross getting over into foul ground to make the grab. That ends the inning. A leadoff base hit, but the Mets can't do anything with it. So we head for the 4th at Shea. Mets and Marlins, no score.
Hello, everyone. Brian Custer from our SNY studios with an in-game update. Top of the 3rd, Ryan Terrio hits into the 4-4-3 double play to end the inning. It's still 1-0 Cubbies. Bottom of the 3rd, Jason Kendall for the Brew Crew at the plate.
All right, thanks, Brian. Now we go to the 4th inning here. Mets and Marlins, no score. Mike Jacobs will lead off the 4th inning against Oliver Perez. It takes a slider for a strike. Jacobs lined one to first base, and Carlos Delgado made a lunging grab his first time up. It'll be Jacobs, then Dan Uggla, and Josh Willingham for Florida in the 4th. And another slider for a strike, 0-2.
Two good sliders, and you see the defense right there, way off the line at third base. Looks likely to pull on the infield here.
Two from Perez, and he gets him with a slider. Through the first 2 for strikes, with the 3rd one away, 4th strikeout for Perez.
The first one was a get me over slider. Second one more in the outside corner, and this is the real hard one. This break to Jacobs, no chance.
And ahead in the count like that, Ollie doesn't have to throw a strike.
So 1 out and nobody on. Here's Dan Uggla, who hit the ball back to Perez in the 2nd inning. Ollie reached out with his pitching hand and deflected it. Uggla wound up with an infield hit, and the Mets wound up with a scare. Grounded weakly to short. And Reyes throws him out. 2 out. Today, after the Jets finish off Kurt Warner and the Cardinals at the Meadowlands, tune into SNY for Jets post-game live. Hear the latest reactions, plus get in-depth analysis and expert opinion on Jets post-game live today, immediately after Mets Nissan post-game live on SNY. I guess that means Brian Custer's doing double duty today.
That's right. 31-0 at halftime, right?
Here's Willingham, who popped up his first time up. Reyes a little tentative with that last throw.
And here's the ground ball, the last out in the dirt. Watch Delgado with Jose. Get it up here.
Said I threw a little slider over there. Sorry about that, Carlos.
And a slider from Perez. Did he go? Nope. Brian Gorman says no.
Good call.
By the way, it's only fitting that Brian Gorman should be on the umpiring crew today. The first game ever played at Shea Stadium, Brian's dad, Tom, umpired behind home plate.
Oh, that's great.
He looks like his dad, too. When I came up, Tom Gorman was still umpiring towards the end of his career. Chad Crawford was still umping. Ed Sudol was still umping.
Chris Pellicudis.
Chris Pellicudis was gone.
No?
Yeah, I never.
2-1 to Willingham. And that slider just misses. So Jerry Davis called that one a ball, and now Perez, who's walked 2 today, is behind 3-1. Cody Ross on deck. (3-1) and a high fly ball hit to center field. Easy play for Beltran. Can of corn ends the inning. 1-2-3 inning for Oliver Perez. He's thrown 4 scoreless. Now the Mets try and crack through against Olsen.
And the pitch by Stanley, and a ground ball trickling. It is a fair ball. Picked by Buckner. Rounding third night. The Mets will win the ball game. The Mets win.
There are certain moments in the collective memory where everybody who experienced it, whether they participated or watched, remembers where they were. And I think for a Met fan, that is probably moment number 1. Mayor Bloomberg is on hand, and where Mayor Bloomberg is sitting is significant. Yeah. For the first time this season, they have put in those extra boxes next to the dugouts, which cuts down on the amount of foul territory.
Wonderful for the hitters.
Yeah, right?
Carlos Delgado leads off the home 4th and takes a strike.
Keith and I were in the clubhouse when that ball went through Buckner's legs.
Yep.
Keith was watching on Davey's office. I was watching in Charlie Samuel's office.
I was watching with Daryl Johnson, and everybody knows the story, but something new came up, Gary, and I didn't write my memory. Jay Horowitz told me that he was in the club, he was in Davey's office with us, and all 3 of us watched it together, and I totally forgot Jay was there.
I think you were probably focused.
He was mad, and then focused, and then happy.
Delgado singled his first time, and he goes the other way again, but this one may stay up for Willingham, and that's the first out. So Delgado has gone to left field twice. He's retired to start the bottom of the fourth, and now David Wright, who ripped one his first time up, that was caught by Cameron Maybin, and David's been so hot he's earned a McCarty's taste for life.
Oh, that's me. I'm oldest of 4 brothers.
His father Ron, police captain in Virginia.
6 foot, 217. Wouldn't want to run into him in a dark alley.
Lincoln Park, that's your favorite band too, isn't it, Keith?
To center field for Maybin. And quickly Olsen has the first 2 outs in the bottom of the fourth. They've gone to the fourth in Milwaukee. The Cubs still leading the Brewers 1-0. Here the Mets and Marlins scoreless. Mets and Brewers tied for the wild card lead, entering the final day, if necessary, a 1-game playoff tomorrow night here at Shea. And if they play, we'll have pre and post game coverage on SNY.
Young Nick Evans steps in, and Gary said the numbers earlier off of Olsen are quite good. He also hit his first home run, major league home run off Scott Olsen earlier this year. That was back on August 31st in Florida.
Past the mound, Meziga comes in to grab it, and a very easy 1-2-3 inning for Scott Olsen. He threw just 6 pitches to get the Mets in order. So Oliver Perez goes back to work for the 5th. Still no score.
You are the Budweiser designated driver of the game.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Sterling Mats and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Sterling Mats.
Home runs against the Mets, Oliver.
Lower third of the order coming up for the Marlins in the 5th inning in a scoreless game. Can you even enjoy the cotton candy when there's this much tension?
Yeah, they're nervous fans right now, and rightfully so.
I got in the press elevator coming up earlier.
Cody Ross leads off and swings and misses, nothing in 1.
With a whole crate full of those cotton candies, I almost passed out from the smell.
Were you tempted?
No, I was not. I do not like cotton candy. I'm on the record.
You're on the record.
You're the only person I've ever met who doesn't like sugar.
Oh, I like sugar, but not cotton candy. I didn't like it. I didn't like it when I was a kid. You know, when the carnivals
came to, or is it
it's sticky? It just it doesn't.
How about the rock candy? You like rock candy?
I always felt like I was eating spider webs.
Spider web.
Scared of spiders?
Yes, I am.
1-1 to Ross, who walked his first time up. Foul back.
Good cut by Ross there. He's a fastball hitter, very dangerous. He's one of those guys that doesn't get cheated up there.
Ali has struck out 4. He's walked 2. Allowed just 1 hit. Breaking ball hit to short. Reyes in front of it. And this time he hits Delgado in the chest. 1 away, as requested by the first baseman. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Sovereign Bank, America's neighborhood bank, and by Advanced Radiation Centers of New York, reminding you that September is Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. This is the only game remaining scheduled at Shea Stadium.
I always see number 1 and think of the Mookster.
Alfredo Meziga lined to center his first time and takes a big hack at a fastball, nothing in 1.
He tied him up and in.
The Cubs did not score in the top of the 4th. They're now in the bottom of the 4th in Milwaukee. Cubs 1, Brewers nothing. The Brewers have had just 1 hit. Missing inside, 1-1. So Chad Godin came on in relief.
Yes. He's been kind of leaky lately, but he got to throw a goose egg up there, and it's starting to rain a little bit again, Gary.
We'll play through. In tight to a Meziga, 2-1. Thursday night in the final game of the series against the Cubs, it rained from the 3rd inning on, and the game was never halted. 2-1 to a Meziga on the outside corner. Good pitch by Ali. 2-2.
Using both sides of the plate. Corners.
2-2 to Amezaga. He struck him out. 5 strikeouts for Oliver Perez. He's retired 7 in a row.
Well, good fastball. He just adds a little bit to this down the middle, but right through the bat of Amezaga, who fouls it off in the glove of Castro.
Yep, you missed it.
So 2 out and nobody on, and the pitcher Olsen, who took a call third strike his first time up. Johan Santana was the goods yesterday, and Oliver Perez has been everything the Mets have needed for him to be today. Pitching on 3 days rest for only the 3rd time in his career. He did it in 05 while with the Pirates. That didn't work out so well. He did it with the Mets in the most difficult of circumstances in 2006. Remember that El Duca got hurt before the playoffs, and Steve Traxel took himself out of the game, so it was left to Perez in that Game 7 against the Cardinals, and he acquitted himself in a year in which he went 3-13 during the regular season, as well as anybody could.
And he's doing it economically in 4 1/3 innings in his last start against the Cubs. 105 pitches here in 4 2/3. And Breaker getting out of this inning only 63.
Struck him out. 6 strikeouts for Perez. He's retired 8 in a row. We're halfway through. Mets and Marlins, no score.
Hello, everyone. Brian Custer with your in-game update. This is the top of the 4th. CC Sabathia still going strong. 3 strikeouts. Strikes out Reed Johnson. He's now thrown 59 pitches. It's 1-0 Cubbies. Cubs on their 3rd pitcher.
And that 3rd pitcher for the Cubs, Neil Kotz, getting the job done so far. Meanwhile, the Sovereign Bank 5th inning recap, and it's been all pitching here. Scott Olsen, who's had troubles against the Mets in the past, has been sharp today. Oliver Perez has been even better. 5 scoreless, only 1 hit allowed, and now the Mets offense looking to break through with Ramon Martinez to lead off the bottom of the 5th.
Well, it hasn't been much of an offensive day here. Mets need to get something going here, and wouldn't it just be ironic if Ramon Martinez, the veteran, who's been a big part of this homestand since being inserted in the lineup, gets it started for him. Need to get something going.
Martinez grounded to short his first trip, and he takes a strike. I mean, does the offense look tight to you? Is it just Olsen on his game?
Olsen, it's the combination. They're not tight. I mean, this is a pressure situation here. Someone needs to just spark this ball club.
Broken bat grounder, and Uggla gets in front of it.
But I must say, Gare, that I've not seen Olsen throw this well in a long time.
Yeah.
Since his rookie year. He's got great command. He's always one of those guys that can blow up in an inning and loses control. He has not done that. And he hasn't walked anybody. That's critical for him.
And he always was the guy that would overthrow at times, and has not done that so far.
Guy who gave up 4 runs in 5 innings against the Nationals his last time out, but has kept the Mets off the board so far. There's Ryan Church, and he takes a strike, and Church did not look good against Olsen his first time up.
What does Tom Seaver always say? What's the most important pitch? Strike 1. That's what Olsen's been doing. And Ollie.
And now he's a hit on Church, 0-2. Pitches for Olsen, and he threw 25 of those in the first inning.
Yeah, those are good numbers. He's retired the first hitter 4 of the first 5 innings.
On the outside corner, strike 3 called. So Church strikes out for the 2nd time, the 3rd for Olsen, and he's retired 8 in a row.
Well, Church, who struck out 3 times yesterday, 2 called, all pitches on the outside corner.
Mets have had just 2 base runners today. Delgado singled with 2 out in the first. Castro singled leading off the 3rd. Now Ramon comes up for the 2nd time. The Brewers did not score in the bottom of the 4th, so they go to the 5th in Milwaukee, 1-0 Chicago. Prince Fielder having a rough day. He has struck out his first 2 at-bats for the Brewers, who have had only 1 hit against 3 Chicago pitchers.
And he's been red hot for that Brewer club. Look at that. All right. I remember that button.
1-1 to Castro.
They might use 8 pitchers in that game, the Cubs. You know that?
That might work.
Oh, look at that. I wish I'd kept those things. I don't know where they are.
I've got some great buttons from '69.
Yeah.
The individual player buttons. Got one of Harrelson, one of Seaver, one of Swoboda. Big buttons like they used to have back in the 60s.
Swoboda for president?
Not exactly.
What is that?
It's Mrs. Met.
Isn't that the lady in the 86 World Series with roller arms?
Yep.
For good luck.
Castro gets under one to center field, and Maben got a bad angle, but he's able to make up for it. That ball hangs in the air so long. And the side retired. 9 in a row retired by Scott Olsen. So the drama just builds as we head for the 6th. Mets and Marlins still scoreless.
Well, quite a pitcher's duel this afternoon at Shea, and I find it kind of interesting because Scott Olsen coming into today was 0-3 with an ERA just under 7 against the Mets, but he's pitching a gem so far. And he was really one of the guys that did the most talking coming into this series. We've documented how excited the Marlins were to try and end the Mets season, but Olsen was the guy that said, yeah, I remember last year Tom Glavine off the mound. I remember the fans crying. He really talked a lot, and so far he's backing it up, guys. So we'll see if that continues. Back up to you.
Well, the Marlins, most of them who were here last year, relished ending the Mets season. And they've said it quite openly, this is their playoff. And they're taking it quite seriously. As, by the way, are the Cubs, who have less reason to take it seriously.
Yeah. Well, I talked to one of the Cub coaches, and they said they prefer to play the Mets in Milwaukee. And I said, I think your guys are dead wrong.
0-2 to Maben.
Milwaukee hasn't got a great bullpen, and we don't hit with your bullpen. And I go, well, neither does Milwaukee. Milwaukee can't hit with our club.
And Milwaukee doesn't have the starting pitching, particularly if Sheets is unavailable, which he may well be. 0-2 to Maben. Did he go around? No. Brian Gorman gives him a pass. 1-2.
Did not go. Held up. Let's take a look. No, sir.
Good call by Brian Gorman.
That's not even close.
Yeah.
Sheets, by the way, got knocked out in the 3rd inning yesterday for the Brewers and indicated after the game that he was in a lot of pain. So if they get there, they're going to have a tough time with their rotation. Breaking ball, dribble, tough play if it stays fair with Maben's speed, but it trickles foul. Well, just had enough outward spin on it to go across the line. I mean, if we have a game here tomorrow, the Brewers have no idea who's going to pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, Giovanni Gallardo came back after 4.5 months on the disabled list and gave them a credible effort the other day. He could come back on 3 days rest, but that's tough with a guy who's been out all year. Then you've got Dave Bush, whose turn it would have been, but Bush pitched 2 innings in relief yesterday. So Brewers obviously just trying to get through today, and Dale Swain will have to deal with that if and when it happens. Mets have a tough enough call tomorrow. 1-2 to Maben. Drive in the air deep to left field. That ball's going to settle down and hop over the wall for a ground rule double. So Cameron Maben picks up just the 2nd hit of the game for the Marlins. The rookie rifling a double, and the go-ahead run is at 2nd with nobody out.
Well, this is the guy that came over in that Miguel Cabrera trade, and Dontrell Willis. He's the center fielder of the future. Boy, he just turned on this high fastball. He's lucky that he didn't lift it.
Great Mets are.
That ball's lifted. That's out of here. And they're going to put a bunt on here with the left-hand hitting Baker for sure. The Mets should play aggressively on the corners. Delgado's moving back.
Baker is flied out and struck out, and he shows bunt and takes a strike.
Watch him run, Keith. That right arm, it's almost like a rudder. He's got to get it flying around there to get him to second base.
What was that all about?
He's not Jeffrey Leonard with one flap down. He's got one chicken wing out. One and one to Baker.
Well, now Delgado's moving back. I just think that this is just going to be a bunt, a left-hand hitter. He's going to play for 1 run here.
Yes.
I would be in more aggressively.
And Baker bunts it foul, not looking like he knows how to bunt.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if Freddie Gonzalez keeps the bunt on with 2 strikes. Meanwhile, the Cubs did not score at the top of the 5th. They go to the bottom of the 5th in Milwaukee, still 1-0 Chicago.
Crowd wanting a strikeout.
Baker's got to try to pull the ball here. He's in a hole, 1 and 2.
Maben at second and nobody out. Looped shallow center. Out goes Martinez. It falls for a hit. Maben read it well, and he will score as Beltran's throw arrives too late. It's an RBI single for John Baker, and the Marlins have broken the ice, and they lead it 1-0. He didn't hit it hard, but he found the grass in center field.
Well, he just kind of dorks it in here. A little slider. And watch the throw home by Beltran, way over the cutoff man's head. You know it as a runner right from the get-go. Baker does not advance on the throw. Now Maben can fly. Look at those long. What is that? Is he waving?
Right arm goes like Spider-Man.
Baker could have been on second base on the high throw home.
That keeps the double play in order as Cantu comes up. Cantu is grounded to short and flying to left 0 for 2. So the Mets find themselves now behind, just as the Brewers do to the Cubs, 1-0. Perez at 74 pitches. Good off-speed pitch to get even on Cantu.
75 pitches for Oliver. 47 strikes.
Baker, slow runner at first. Cantu fouls it off, and it's 1-2. Met pitchers have thrown 15 consecutive scoreless innings in this series. Before that run-scoring single by Baker. Now Perez has got to keep it right where it is. One and 2 to Cantu with nobody out. And the slider misses inside, 2-2. This place, which has been so raucous today, can get eerily quiet.
Yeah.
In tight with the fastball. Hardest pitch he's thrown today at 94. And a full count to Cantu. This is a strikeout-laden Florida lineup, so when you think about even sending Baker here,
I would not. It's 111 strikeouts per Cantu. You can. You got nothing to play for, but you can play it footloose and fancy-free when you're playing the season out.
Perez has struck out 6 today. Line center field, base hit for Cantu. Baker goes to second. 3 straight hits for the Marlins to start the 6th inning. And now with a run already home, Mike Jacobs will come to bat with 2 men on. And Dan Warrington will pay another visit to the mound.
Out there to talk to Oliver and also give the bullpen a chance to warm someone up.
What about the rope on Perez today? He had been terrific for 5 innings, all of a sudden showing some weakness here in the 6th. How much leash can you afford to give him?
I don't think there's any leash. I think once he shows sign of trouble, you've got to get your best reliever in there, and Joe Smith has been their best reliever down the stretch.
Well, once you get past Jacobs, the next hitter, you got 3 right-hand hitters in a row, and that's a perfect spot for Smith.
This is the same as managing a 7th game of the World Series. I mean, you just cannot take anything for chance.
So we'll see what Perez has left after giving up 3 straight hits and a run. Jacobs is 0 for 2, lined out, a lunging grab by Delgado, and then struck out on 3 straight sliders in the 4th. See if Perez sticks with the same game plan.
They got him out with sliders last time.
And he starts him off with one, but it's low. Jacobs, the former Met, 0 for 5 in this series and just 1 for 11 in his career against Perez. Mets would love a double play, but Jacobs a pronounced fly ball hitter against a fly ball pitcher. In the air to deep left center field. Back goes Murphy. Evans, he's got room, and he makes the catch. Tagging at second and moving is Baker. The throw goes to third. Should have gone to second, and Cantu's been able to move up as well. 2 in scoring position after Evans makes the grab in left field.
Well, excellent base running here by both runners. And Evans has no chance to get in front. You make the read that it's going to be caught. Nicely tagging up. You can't throw him out. The mistake here, Gary, you said it. It's not throwing to second base. And Cantu reads it. Now he's going to feel it. He sees he's throwing the wrong base. I can just walk to second. So, and there's no cutoff man there because throw has to go to second base.
Yes. Now the Mets will intentionally walk Dan Uggla and bring up Josh Willingham with the bases loaded. And the question then is, who's going to be pitching to Willingham? Is it Perez or is it Joe Smith?
It's going to be Joe Smith, my feeling. Ronnie, what's yours?
That's the call. I think that you need that right-handed matchup against Willingham.
Cannot let this game get away.
So the goal here will be to bring in Joe and try and get a ground ball to get a double play and get out of the inning.
And here comes Jerry.
So that's going to be it for Oliver Perez after 5 terrific innings and the start of a meltdown here in the 6th. No rope for Perez, and he will leave after 5 1/3. And the Mets will go to their beleaguered bullpen and hope that it can hold serve and keep them around long enough for their offense to rally. This call to the bullpen is brought to you by Verizon. Switch to Verizon. Don't push your luck with push to talk. Switch to Verizon Wireless and the network. Perez exits. Smith comes on.
Hello, everyone. Brian Custer with your in-game update. Bottom of the 5th. Craig Counsell flies out. Brewers with just 1 hit. It's still 1-0. Game now in the top of the 6th. By the way, Gary, Cardinals scored 21 points in the 3rd quarter. It's now 34-21. Jets in the 4th.
All right, Brian. Oliver Perez leaving. And leaving it in the hands of Joe Smith. Bases loaded, 1 out. Josh Willingham, the batter, and he takes a slider inside for ball 1.
Oh, that's a big first pitch right there. If you look at Joe's numbers for the season, he was a hitter right here. Boy, you want to get ahead in the count. Our first pitch out of the box.
Joe wants to get a ground ball here. 6 victories this season, 4 in September.
Willingham, another fly ball hitter, and he grounds that one foul, 1-1. Willingham has popped to second and fly to center today, 0 for 2. Well, Smith has been unbelievable at getting the first hitter out this year. With that 135 batting. Yep. Baker at third, can't do it second. Uggla at first and 1 out with a run home in the 6th. Willingham 2 for 5 in his career against Joe Smith. That just missed the inside. Jerry Davis wouldn't call it a strike, and it's 2-1. Wow.
Close.
That's a good pitch.
That changes the at-bat entirely now. 2-1 instead of 1-2.
He's got to run the sinky.
Got to go away, though. See if he can try to pull it.
And that's inside and low, ball 3. So now it's 3-1 to Willingham, and Smith's got no place to put him.
When you come to the game and you don't watch,
I think he can barely watch.
You hope that the hitter gets big here.
3-1 to Willingham. And he walked him, and it forces in a run. 2-0 Florida. Joe Smith, who's been coming in and getting the first guy out all year, didn't get the call on 1-1, and then he threw the next 2 out of the strike zone, and he walks Willingham to force in a run.
Oh my word.
So Baker scores to make it 2-0. And now Cody Ross will come to bat with the bases loaded and still only 1 out. Ross has walked and grounded out 0 for 1. And a slider for a strike.
I just have a feeling Cody Ross is going to be set up going to the opposite field here.
They're in the 6th in Milwaukee. The Mets getting some help, but a thin margin there as it is here. Smith trying to keep it thin. The 0-1. A slider inside. 1-1. Joe Smith, who's been coming in day after day after day. One to Ross, and that's a letter high strike. Not where he wanted it, but it worked. 1-2.
Well, it's a little spinner in the middle of the plate. Going after Ross with sliders instead of that sinker ball from Smith.
1-2. Slider popped up in foul ground, playable for right. 2 out. So he threw 4 straight sliders and finally got Ross on the pop-up for the second out.
Well, again, another slider right in the middle of the plate. Oh, no, it curved just enough outside to get off the end of the bat of Cody Ross.
Cody Ross just out in front that entire at bat. He's eaten up by Joe.
Dan Warthen getting his workout today, isn't he?
Warthen takes another trip to the mound. Mets have the bullpen busy, but this is Joe Smith's man coming up. Even though Alfredo Amezaga is a switch hitter and he's a better left-hand hitter, you have to stay with Smith here. Wander Sanchez, next man up in the Mets bullpen. So Smith, after walking Willingham with the bases loaded to force in a run, gets Ross, and now he has to deal with Amezaga, who lined out hard to center field to end the second inning with 2 men on, and then struck out in the 5th. Cantu, Uggla, and Willingham the base runners. Wright has to play in close at third against the threat of the bunt.
Amezaga from the better side of the plate, the better left-hand hitter. Infield's going to have to be quick. He's a fast runner. Ground ball on the dirt.
And Smith misses with the sinker, ball 1. You've got slower runners at second and at third, so if you have a choice, you might want to think about that on a ground ball.
You don't want to get to 3-2 where they're in motion.
Grounded weakly foul. Down to Andy Fox, the first base coach, 1-1. Hanley Ramirez unable to play today. Looking on with his teammates as the Marlins have taken the 2-0 lead here in the 6th. And the Mets know they're going to have to do some scoring. One and 1 to Amezaga. Outside, 2-1.
Boy, this is a good time to hit if you're Amezaga. You got to throw a strike here.
Don't pull. He's going to run that sinker away. You want to go the other way up the middle.
2-1. Smith throws and he gets the comebacker. So Smith gives up a bases loaded walk, gets the next 2, and keeps the Mets in the game. Pitcher spot will lead off, but then Reyes at the top of the batting order looking to be an igniter with Beltran behind him. The Mets now behind for the first time today, 2-0 Florida. There are your Mazda wild card standings. Mets and Brewers even going into the final day of the season and both trailing. Bottom of the 6th in Milwaukee. The Brewers have managed just 1 hit and trail 1-0. Here the Mets trail 2-0. Robinson Cancel will bat for Joe Smith leading off the bottom of the 6th. Mets had to wait for Cancel to, I assume, get in from the bullpen where he'd been warming up pitchers. It's going to be tough for a catcher in that spot. You've been focused in one direction. Now all of a sudden you're called upon to hit.
But you're ready.
Yeah.
You might be used as a pinch hitter. You can do double duty.
Probably managing a little yourself down there, but you're right, Gary. He's got to run up the tunnel, throw his hat on, be ready to go. Sometimes maybe that helps in a pressure situation. Not thinking about it too much.
With the lefty on the mound, Cancel's speed, he makes sense leading off the inning. Absolutely. Reyes and Beltran to follow.
Absolutely.
Olsen's thrown 5 scoreless innings. Now he has the lead, and Cancel takes ball 1.
Oh, let's see if he can hold the lead now. It kind of changes the whole complexion of the game.
I also think that Argenis Reyes is the kind of guy, as Joe Nelson gets loose in the Marlins bullpen, is the kind of player that with Ramon Martinez starting at second base, he might come in for defense late.
Cancel 4 for 11 as a pinch hitter with 2 RBI.
And Argenis Reyes also much more effective as a left-hand hitter. 1-1 to Cancel. Foul back. Cancel last started on Thursday night and had a couple of hits, including the game-tying hit on Ryan Church's creative slide in that game against the Cubs, in which the Mets came back in the final 3 innings. In Milwaukee, Kevin Hart is now pitching in relief for the Cubs, who have used the entire staff today but have given up just 1 hit.
And there's only 3 hits in that ball game. Cubs 2, Milwaukee the other.
1-2 to Cancel. It's taken low. Change up. 2-2. Scott Olsen is yet to throw his 70th pitch in this game, so he might be around for a while in his last start of the season. Just past 200 innings for the season for the first time.
It's a good idea right there by Cancel. He got a pitcher in a good rhythm. Step out on him.
2-2 to Cancel. Reached for and hit foul down the right side.
Boy, he's been on that outside corner for the right-handers. We haven't seen many of the right-handed hitters shooting that ball to right field. 70 pitches so far, 15-20. That's a good ratio for Mr. Olsen.
See what Maddox did last night? 6 innings, 47 pitches for his 355th win.
And it's true, he did not sweat.
Taken low, and it's 3-2. But imagine that, 6 innings, 47 pitches. Only Maddox, right?
I think so.
And then come out of the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Done.
Well, Mets need a base runner. Trailing 2-0 in the bottom of the 6th. 3-2 to the pinch hitter Cancel. And time asked for late by Cancel.
Yep, he's doing a little dirty trick there. It's a pitcher out there that you see Schoenweiss loose that you can rile. He's a little temperamental.
3-2. And he walked him. So the Mets get the leadoff man on for the second time today. First walk given up by Olsen right after being handed the lead. Now Jose Reyes will bat. Reyes today has flied out and struck out. He's 1 for 11 in this series.
It's just like how many times have you been to watch a game where it's nothing, and the other team scores, and it's a whole different program for the pitcher. Now he's got a lead, and he winds up giving a run back or 2.
Reyes takes a strike. Uggla and Amezaga, the second baseman and shortstop, at double play depth, but a lot shorter than normal double play depth against Reyes' speed.
Gives Reyes an advantage to sneak one past that infield.
Beltran on deck, hitting second today. And Reyes takes up and away, 1-1. Jose's been very patient today. He's worked a couple of 3-2 counts in both of his at-bats. 1-1 from Olsen. Flared in the air, shallow right field, and in comes Ross, who was playing shallow, to make the grab. Surprising how shallow Cody Ross was playing. Put him in the right spot.
Well, here's the pitch. They jam Jose inside, right to the glove, down and in. You're right, Gary. Very shallow right field.
The Brewers did not score in the bottom of the 6th. They go to the 7th now at Miller Park. Still 1-0 Cubs.
This is something.
There's some tension. There's some tension in both parks, as we see Schoenweiss and Brian Stokes.
Beltran is 0 for 2 today. Well, think about what's happened to the Twins and the White Sox the last couple of days after they finished their series. They both lost Friday and Saturday and go into the final day a half game apart. Both are leading today. 1-0 to Beltran, and a high fly ball, deep left field. Back goes Willingham onto the track, looking up, and it's out of here! Carlos Beltran ties the game! Number 27 for Beltran.
High fastball. Oh, right down Broadway. And he's all over it. Clutch up.
Olsen knew right away. Yeah,
That's the reaction. He made a boo-boo. He knew it.
Olsen should know that's the 30th home run he's given up this year. And so Beltran gets the Mets back even.
What an at-bat by Cancel, too, huh? Get on, lead off the inning, put some pressure back on Olsen.
Here's Delgado, and he takes outside. Remember earlier in the year when Beltran wasn't hitting home runs right-handed? Well, he is now. Boy, a lot of breath able to be exhaled after that home run. Woo! Now the crowd is back in it. Delgado swings and misses at the slider 1-1.
Well, unlike a lot of left-handed pitchers, Olsen is not pitching Delgado in. Everything is away. Carlos can shoot him that way.
Well, he shot him that way twice.
Yep.
But he's having trouble picking up his breaking pitch.
Well, he had a base hit to left field in the first inning, hit it hard to left again in the fourth, and Willingham caught it. Meanwhile, Beltran now with 27 homers, 112 RBIs. 10 of his 27 have now come batting right-handed. 1-2 to Delgado. Got out of the way, and it's 2-2. Cubs have the leadoff man on in the top of the seventh on a Ramos Ramirez single as they look to expand on their lead in Milwaukee. Popped up foul. That'll come out of play.
Boy, that was a hanger. If he gets that a little more over the plate, just jam Delgado just enough.
Mets 2, Marlins 2, bottom of the sixth. 3-2 to Delgado with Wright on deck. Aaron Manuel bunched his big hitters at the top of the batting order. Reyes, Beltran, Delgado, and Wright, his 4 cornerstone players. Just these last couple of days. Mark Hendrickson, the lefty, now up in the bullpen. Behind Olsen. 3-2. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. Baker makes the toss, and there are 2 out. 4th strikeout for Olsen, and now Wright will bat with 2 down.
You know, Jerry talks about putting his best cornerstone players up 1, 2, 3, 4. And the reason he did it, he said, I want to give those guys, our best players, the most opportunities.
Brian Stokes up in the bullpen, and it's worth mentioning again, we mentioned it earlier, all 4 of those guys, Reyes, Beltran, Delgado, and Wright, have now played in at least 159 games this year. It's the first time a team has had 4 players play that many games in 40 years since the 1968 Cubs. They have all been Ironmen. David Wright takes outside, ball 1.
Well, Wright gets a hold of one here. This place is going to explode.
To the backstop, 2-0. You know what the interesting thing about that 68 Cubs team? One of the 4 players who was in at least 159 games, the catcher, Randy Hunt.
That's right.
160 that year. Imagine that, playing day games at Wrigley. Now Mark Wiley, the pitching coach, comes out of the dugout for the first time today to visit Olsen.
Well, he's probably going to tell him 2-0 count.
Yeah.
Don't throw a fat one here. Be focused. What you want to do.
That's a smart visit by Mark.
Well, the Cubs did not score in the top of the 7th despite that leadoff hit. So they go to the bottom of the 7th in Milwaukee. Still 1-0 Chicago. Joe Nelson, the right-hander. Mark Hendrickson, the left-hander, up in the bullpen. You got more right-hand hitters behind David Wright, Evans, and Martinez. 2-0 to David Wright. Swing and a foul tip. 2-1. David twice has hit the ball to center field today. First time up, he scorched it to Cameron Maben to end the first, and he flied out in the 4th. Little ground ball to short. In comes a Meziga to field it. Throwing on the run, and Jacobs with the stretch stays on the bag to end the inning. But the Mets get even after the Marlins took the lead at the top of the 6th. Robinson can't sell a walk, and then Carlos Beltran hits his 27th homer, a 2-run shot, and we'll start from scratch 2-2 as we go to the 7th. Here's tonight's Aflac trivia question. The last ever one at Shea Stadium.
All right.
What Hall of Famer has played the most games, regular and postseason, at Shea? It's most games played among Hall of Famers in this ballpark. Andy Chavez comes on to play left field in a tie game. He'll lead off in the next inning, and Brian Stokes comes on to pitch in the top of the 7th. Luis Gonzalez will bat for Scott Olsen, so Olsen's out after 6 innings. And Gonzo takes outside for ball 1.
Well, Stokes pitched a couple on Friday night, gave up a run and 2/3 of an inning with a couple of hits. It's a rebound from that effort.
Gonzalez walked as a pinch hitter against Bobby Parnell in the 7th inning on Friday. Rounds 1 to second base. Martinez moves over in front of it. Nicely done. 1 out. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Cameron Maben at the top of the batting order. It was Maben who got the Marlins started in the 6th inning by rifling a double to left field. He then scored the first run. Scott Schoenweiss stays busy in the bullpen. Left-hand hitting John Baker on deck. In Milwaukee, Sean Marshall is pitching the 7th inning for the Cubs. The same Sean Marshall who started against the Mets. Here is Shea. Maben is 1 for 2 and a walk. In the dirt. 1-1 from Stokes.
The bat boy, that's how serious this game is. The bat boy even has eye black on. He's ready.
That's false hustle.
He still can't match a Meziga. He's got his whole face done in eye black. 1-1 to Maben, and the slider stays inside, and it's 2-1. There's a Meziga.
There you go, Keith.
Looks like he should be in
2-1 to Maben. Fastball turned on to left field. Over toward the corner goes Chavez. Looks up, and it's off the base of the fence. Maben was not running hard, and he'll have to stop at first base. The rookie was caught admiring. And it hit the base of the fence, and Maben has to settle for a single.
And you do not like to see that out of a young player who's a rookie. If he's doing it as a rookie, what's he going to do when he's a veteran?
No, he's
running. He just didn't take the turn. Look at that.
Oh,
he was watching.
Did he even touch first base going by?
He just barely touched the outside part of it.
He could have busted it better.
He's got a very strange running style, too.
He's got 3 stolen bases also. Only caught once.
So he's at first with 1 out. And here's John Baker, who's 1 for 3. He drove in the first run of the game with a soft single to center.
Excuse me, Maben has not been caught stealing. He's 3 for 3 on the year.
In Milwaukee, Ray Durham has just led off the bottom of the 7th with a double. So the Brewers have the tying run at second and nobody out.
And Ryan Braun at the plate.
Castro goes to the mound to talk to Stokes. Oliver Perez went 5 1/3, pitched brilliantly for the first 5, then faltered in the 6th, then was pulled quickly, allowed 2 runs and 4 hits. Joe Smith walked Willingham with the bases loaded to force in the 2nd run, but then got the next 2 hitters in a clutch spot. And now Stokes trying to keep it tied in the 7th after Beltran hit the 2-run homer to get the Mets even. Oh, 1 to Baker. Shoots it foul, 97 miles an hour from Stokes, and it's 0-2.
Baker having a good finish to his season here. He's been playing every day and been hot.
He wants something hard here from Stokes. Either paint him with a fastball, hard slider down. That changeup is not the best pitch here with Delgado holding Maben on. Big hole between first and second.
0-2. Fouled away.
Came in with the hard stuff.
He gets good swings.
Yeah.
It's a low ball hitter. Like all lefties.
To Baker. Late swing foul ball.
Just going right after him. 0-2 with heat, Ronnie.
Yep. Baker just fighting it off, trying to stay in the at bat.
There's the infield on infield defense. As Ronnie said, that hole between first and second.
clicking on Maben. He's been on base 3 straight times now with a walk, a double, and now a single. In the 0-2, a pitch out. Maben's running. Castro's throw, though, is offline, and Maben is safe. The Mets guessed right, pitched out, but Castro did not make an on-target throw, and Maben has the stolen base, his 4th.
It makes me wonder if the Mets have got the signs from third base coach Bo Porter, pitching out with an 0-2 count. Very rarely do you see that. And he might have been safe on a perfect throw. What speed.
Now 1-2 to Baker with the go-ahead run in scoring position. Struck him out. Tied him up inside, and Stokes fans Baker for the 2nd out.
Boy, just good high fastball. Good call from Castro. No shot on that 96-mile-an-hour fastball upstairs on Baker. Defensive swing.
Now Dan Warthen heads out to the mound. You've got Cantu, a right-hand batter, coming up. The lefty swinging Mike Jacobs behind him. First base open.
Got to go after Cantu. I just think that Jacobs, the old Met, always seems to get big hits against the Mets. Cantu can be pitched to.
Well, he's a fastball hitter. He's just telling him, make your pitches. He's a dead fastball hitter.
If it gets to Jacobs, Jacobs is 0 for 8 against Scott Schoenweiss. 2 for 2 with a home run against Stokes. So if Cantu keeps his inning going, for certain Schoenweiss is going to be in the game.
Probably see first pitch slider here, right, Keith?
I would think he would throw him a breaking ball first pitch.
Cantu is 1 for 3, single to center in the 6th. Maben at 2nd and 2 down. 2-2, top of the 7th. Meanwhile, the Brewers threatening in the bottom of the 7th in Milwaukee. 1st and 3rd and 1 out, with the Cubs leading 1-0. Here's Cantu. And the slider misses well off the plate, ball 1.
And that's one thing when when a pitching coach or a manager goes out there and says, now pitch this guy carefully.
Yeah.
How often does it happen that you just got that the pitcher's in the back of his mind, doesn't come close to his pitching?
Yeah, and you almost guaranteed a walk too.
Well, maybe you just need to intentionally walk him and bring in Schoenweiss.
There's the defense on the infield. Very deep, David Wright, and absolutely.
Another slider, and he can't get Cantu to chase, and it's 2-0. And I think it's time to put him on, don't you?
Yes.
Jacobs on deck. Schoenweiss ready for him in the bullpen. Let's see what Jerry Manuel decides to do. Jerry not in evidence right now. Where did he go?
Oh, he's there.
Must have found another seat. Schoenweiss looking on, ready to come in. No intentional walk up coming. It's 2-0 to Cantu. And the fastball low and away, 3-0.
Well, do you give Cantu a hit sign here?
Well, this is clearly a pitch around. You got to give them ball 4 now, don't you?
I think so, but if they don't, if I'm the Marlins, I give Cantu the ability to swing at this pitch.
Cantu's 1 shy from 30 home runs.
So he'll get a crack here on 3-0.
And he's going to get a slider. Something away. Shook off Castro.
3-0 pitch. Call strike with a fastball right on the outside black.
Oh, the hitter's going to be looking. He was taken all the way. This is a count right here where Cantu can look middle in or whatever he wants to do. Pick his half of the plate.
Got to get dirty if the ball's on the ground. If you're an infielder, got to keep it in play.
3-1 from Stokes. Driven to left field. Chavez going back, and he made the catch. Oh, wow. Andy Chavez just in the game for defense, and Indy does it again in a big game at Shea. What a play.
Wow.
Indy is a folk hero at Shea once more. In a tie game again, he makes a big play with the Mets season on the line. We'll stay here at Shea for the performance of God Bless America. Let's go to the public address announcer, Alex Anthony.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Eerie coincidences going on here. Some good and some bad for the Mets this weekend. The fact that they lost to the Marlins on Friday night to fall a game behind just as they did last year, and then got a pitching gem on Saturday and got help to get back even. Now Indy Chavez in a make-or-break game, tie game, makes a game-saving play to keep the Mets tied. And just as Indy did against the Cardinals 2 years ago, he'll get an at-bat in the bottom of the same inning. Now against Joe Nelson. And Indy takes a strike.
It's just incredible. Jerry makes the defensive switch to get Indy to lead off this inning, and he makes could be a game-saving catch again. Unbelievable.
Cantu really scorched that ball.
It's a couple of balls so far today by the Marlins that have not been elevated. If they had been elevated, be a different game. As
Brewers have the bases loaded with 2 out in the bottom of the 7th. Michael Wirtz just came on to strike out a man with the bases loaded, but now Craig Counsell has walked to force in a run to tie that game. Drag bunt by Chavez, right on the line. It goes foul. So after Wirtz, who did the heavy lifting for the Cubs yesterday in the 8th inning, got a huge strikeout with the bases loaded, he walks Counsell to force in the first Milwaukee run, and that game is tied. And they just posted that score here at Shea, reducing a little more.
What a ball game.
What a day.
Unbelievable. What ball games. I mean, it's almost like we're watching two because of the Milwaukee-Chicago game.
Yep.
Both games in the bottom of the 7th. Both games tied. 1-2 to Chavez. Hit in the air to right field. Playable for Ross. And he had his home run cut, but he flies out for the first out. So 1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with the studio and get this update from Brian Custer.
All right, Gary, as you just mentioned, bottom of the 7th, bases loaded. The 6th pitcher for the Cubs, Michael Wirtz, walks Craig Counsell, and now we've got a tie ball game in Milwaukee, 1-1. It's still in the bottom of the 7th, still bases loaded.
And Jason Kendall now batting for the Brewers. We'll keep you up to date. Here's Ramon Martinez, who's 0 for 2, grounded out twice. And he fouls away Nelson's first offering. Luis Ayala, normally we see him in the 9th. He's getting ready for the 8th if need be. Mark Hendrickson getting ready in the bullpen for the Marlins. Ryan Church, a left-hand hitter, on deck. So we might see him if Martinez gets on. 2-2, bottom of the 7th. Fastball off the plate, 2-1. Well, Kendall grounded into a fielder's choice to end that bottom of the 7th, so the Brewers just get the 1, and they head to the 8th, tied 1-1. Martinez takes inside. 2-1. And Ryan Church on deck.
Outfield shading Martinez to right center field. You see center fielder Maben way over into right center field, and I agree. We've seen Martinez go that way naturally to drive that ball into that gap.
But Ross is very shallow too, driving over his head.
Late swing foul. Well, paid off for Ross playing shallow against Reyes.
Yes.
In the 6th inning, he was able to catch Reyes' shallow fly ball. Joe Nelson working in back of Scott Olsen, who went 6 innings, allowed 2 runs, 3 hits, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. A terrific finish to Olsen's season. He'll finish the year at 8-11, but he had one to grow on today. 2-2 to Ramon Martinez. Too high, ball 3. Another very patient at bat for Ramon. 35-year-old journeyman who's been a spark plug these last few days of the season, making his 4th straight start. Nelson's 3-2. Swing and a foul tip held for strike 3.
Well, I tell you what, Joe Nelson's got good stuff. Excellent changeup, throws hard, throws strikes.
Yeah, he doesn't throw anything down the middle. Everything's on the corner of the plate. Got a nice year for them. His 100th big league appearance for Joe Nelson today.
So now Ryan Church happy to see Scott Olsen out of the game. Olsen struck him out twice, swinging in the 2nd, looking in the 5th. 2 out and nobody on. Tie game, 7th inning. And Church takes that changeup for a strike. That's the Vulcan changeup for Mr. Nelson.
It takes a lot off of it too.
2 fingers on either side of the ball. Ramon Castro on deck. And if you can throw the changeup the way that Nelson has, you can live long and prosper.
That's right.
Just looks like this stadium's a time bomb, just ready to explode if the Mets do something good.
Well, they've done it twice today. They did it for Beltran. They did it for Endy. Oh, 2 to Church, taken high. Fastball 1-2. CC Sabathia is still pitching for the Brewers in the 8th inning, his 3rd straight start on 3 days rest. What a horse he's been.
Really.
One-two, foul back, and you have to presume that he'll make another one if the Brewers get in.
Yeah.
And he won't be able to pitch Wednesday, but Thursday you figure he'll pitch game 2 on 3 days rest if the Brewers make it. Mets will actually have Santana, if they want, on regular rest for games 2 and 5 because he pitched on short rest yesterday. One and 2 to Church with 2 out. Swing and a miss. He struck him out with that changeup. So Nelson fans a couple. Church has struck out for the 3rd time today. And we are heading for the 8th in the final scheduled game at Shea, tied at 2. There's your line score. 2-2 as we go to the 8th. Each team got 2 runs in the 6th inning. Follows Beltran's 2-run homer tied it. Here's your answer to your Aflac trivia question. Among all the Hall of Famers, which one has played the most games, regular season and postseason at Shea? That would be the kid. Barry Carter. Over 400 games here at Shea and voted into the Hall of Fame. Now Scott Schoenweiss takes over the pitching as the sun comes out here at Shea for the first time today. Schoenweiss in to pitch to Mike Jacobs, but Freddie Gonzalez will counter with Wes Helms.
73rd appearance for the Mets. Scott Schoenweiss. Of course, his numbers against lefties are off the charts. Not so good against the right-handers. That's why Gonzalez with the move.
Helms started yesterday at 3rd base, went 0 for 3.
Oh. That takes a big left-handed bat out of that lineup.
Helms takes ball 1. 2 more right-handed hitters behind Helms, Uggla and Willingham. And so the Mets keep Ayala, the right-hander, up in the bullpen. One-0 to Helms. Shoots it foul, and it's 1-1. The Cubs did not score in the top of the 8th against Sabathia. They go to the bottom of the 8th in Milwaukee. Chicago and the Brewers tied 1-1. What a last day. Helms hits it in the air to deep left field. Back goes Chavez to the track at the wall. It's out of here. A pinch hit home run for Wes Helms has given the Marlins a 3-2 lead. Freddie Gonzalez went to the right-hand batter against Schoenweiss, who has struggled against right-hand hitters all year, and Helms makes him pay. His 5th home run of the year, his 2nd pinch hit home run, and it's 3-2 Florida.
Second baseman Dan Uggla.
Fastball down and in. And boy, he just went down and launched it. Schoenweiss knows. He's saying stay in.
Schoenweiss and Met fans stunned.
That's the only batter Schoenweiss will face. He gives up the pinch hit home run to Helms. The Mets are behind 3-2. The scoreboard refuses to acknowledge it. It still says 2-2 on the board. But Jerry Manuel's out to make a double switch. They'll bring Ayala into the game. Argenis Reyes will come in as well. He'll go to second base. And Schoenweiss will leave to a chorus of boos. Ayala comes in. Mets now down 3-2 and hanging on for dear life. Schoenweiss exits. We'll be right back. With the Mets now a run behind, Luis Ayala comes in to face Dan Uggla, and he takes ball 1.
Well, Luis Ayala, his last game was against Chicago Cubs when Ramos Ramirez hit that 3-run home run off him in the top of the 10th.
2-0 to Uggla after Wes Helms' leadoff pinch hit home run against Scott Schoenweiss has given the Marlins the lead. Ayala, the 5th Met pitcher, trying to keep this a 1-run game. And there's a strike to Uggla, 2-1. Well, in Milwaukee, Bobby Howry is on to pitch the 8th for the Cubs. CC Sabathia just batted for himself and struck out to lead off the bottom of the 8th. So he's going out for the 9th in a 1-1 game at the moment. 2-1 to Uggla. In for a strike, 2-2.
Milwaukee getting the same kind of effort from Sabathia that the Mets got from Johan Santana in yesterday's game.
Uggla has an infield hit off Oliver Perez's bare hand. He's also grounded out and drawn a walk. 2-2 from Ayala. Just missed the outside corner with that fastball, and it's 3-2.
Boy, Luis wanted it. You saw his reaction. Nope, it missed. Close though.
Yeah.
3-2 to Dan Uggla. Slider hit in the air to deep left field. Back goes Chavez looking up at the wall, and it's out of here. Back-to-back home runs for Helms and Uggla, and it's 4-2 Florida. For Dan Uggla, his 32nd home run of the year. He hit a 3-2 slider out of the ballpark, and the Met bullpen has given up back-to-back home runs. Helms off Schoenweiss, Uggla off Ayala, and the Mets are down by 2.
The left fielder, Josh Willingham.
Well, here it is. Oh, it is a hanger. Not away enough, and Uggla just stayed in, let go with one hand, and Andy couldn't catch that one. Look at the bench in the background. They are fired.
Now Willingham takes ball 1. Well, Ayala thought he had Uggla struck out in the previous pitch, and the next pitch, Uggla beat him. Willingham drew a bases loaded walk in the 6th from Joe Smith, and he takes a strike. Now the Mets bullpen has been their greatest concern for the last month since Billy Wagner went down. And their bullpen has given the lead away, or given the tie game away,
big hits. I mean, just coming in, 2 relievers, bang, bang, home run, home run. No rallies, no nothing by the Marlins who take the lead.
2-1, and Willingham takes outside, and now it's 3-1. The incendiary bullpen down the stretch of the season is what has caused the Mets, who had a 3.5 game lead with 17 to play, to allow the Phillies to clinch the East and now put the Brewers in better position for the wild card. Fly down to center for Beltran, and Willingham retired for the first out of the inning. Let's check in with the studio for an update from Brian Custer.
All right, Gary, you mentioned it. Top of the 8th, 2 outs. CC Sabathia. Look at this. The one-hander retires beside himself. He's thrown 107 pitches, has 7 strikeouts. It's 1-1. Bottom of the 8th. Mike Cameron's on. There's 2 outs for the Brewers.
All right, Ray Durham just flied out to deep right field for the second out of that inning. Now Cody Ross bats with 1 out and nobody on, and Ross takes a strike. Ross is 0 for 2 and a walk today. Mets trailing 4-2 in what could be the last ever game at Shea Stadium. And Ayala misses 1-1.
He's not giving that outside corner, is he, Ronnie?
No. And keep going out there.
Alfredo Amezaga, the number 8 hitter, on deck. Hit to right center field, chasing Church back, and he runs it down for the second out. 2 away. In the bottom of the 8th, the Mets will have 8, 9, and 1 in the order coming up. Ramon Castro, Argenis Reyes, and Jose Reyes. Argenis coming on to the double switch.
Shortstop, Alfredo Amezaga.
Well, in Milwaukee, Ryan Braun has just hit a 2-run homer with 2 out in the bottom of the 8th. His 37th of the year. And now the Brewers lead the Cubs 3-1. And the Mets situation becomes that much more dire.
They've got 6 outs remaining. Don't hang your head.
Hit to left field. Over toward the line goes Chavez. That retires the side, but the Marlins take the lead on back-to-back home runs by Helms and by Uggla. 6 outs perhaps to go in the Mets season. They trail 4-2.
Hello, everyone. Brian Custer with your in-game update. Bottom of the 8th, 2 outs, 1 on for Ryan Braun. Yard. And just like that, Milwaukee up 3-1. We're now at the top of the 9th. CC Sabathia still on the mound.
Well, Ryan Braun has been the Brewers' best player this season, and he hits an enormous home run that might be enough to propel the Brewers into the postseason for the first time since 1982. But the Mets still have something to say about that, facing Kevin Gregg in the 8th.
Well, some magic in the 8th inning by Ryan Braun. The Mets need their own magic against Gregg, who has been struggling as of late. Last 13 innings, he's given up 12 runs.
Daniel Murphy batting for Ramon Castro. Wes Helms pinch hitting, hit the home run that gave the Marlins the lead. Dan Uggla added a home run. The Mets down by 2. And Murphy takes a strike, 1-1. Arthur Rhodes, the veteran lefty, up in the bullpen. Let's have Marlon Anderson out on deck to pinch hit. 2-1 to Murphy. My understanding is that Argenis Reyes was in that 9 hole. Nonetheless, it's Marlon Anderson on deck. 2-1 to Murphy. Fouls it back. Murphy's done an incredible job for a youngster pinch hitting. Normally you watch older players to function as pinch hitters, but Murphy is 6 for 12 in pinch hitting situations. 2-2 from Gregg. Struck him out with a splitter. So Gregg fans Murphy, 1 down in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, he gets ahead here, Ron.
Gets ahead, and then he buries that split finger. Good movement on that pitch. This is where the inexperience comes in. No at-bats. Murphy off Gregg.
So 1 out, and now Marlon Anderson, who's had a lost season, will try and find it in 1 at-bat. Marlon hitting just .212 for the year. But he's 2 for 5 against Kevin Gregg, and if the Mets can get him on, they can get Reyes to the plate as the tying run.
And you see the defense here. There's no doubles in the outfield. Pretty much straight away.
There's a strike, and it's 0-1. In Milwaukee, Alfonso Soriano is leading off the 9th inning against CC Sabathia, with the Brewers leading the Cubs 3-1 on the strength of Ryan Braun's 2-run homer. And Marlin thinks about a bunt with Helms playing back. You got Helms now at third and Cantu at first. Reyes waits. Kevin Gregg, the deposed closer for the Marlins. Matt Lindstrom now fills that role, the former Met farmhand.
Well, the Mets put an end to his closing career with the Marlins. That Beltran grand slam that won the ball game.
He's ahead on Anderson, 1-2. Soriano flied out to start the 9th, 1 out and nobody on in Milwaukee. One and 2 to Marlin Anderson with 1 out. And Marlin takes outside, 2-2. It has been a September that Met fans could hardly believe. Team tightrope has walked along that narrow strip for week after week. And now that tightrope is getting narrower and narrower as we move into this final Sunday afternoon.
Well, starting to feel like a noose. 5 outs.
Santana tried to make 2007 like it never happened. But history may be repeating itself again. 2-2. Ground ball back to Gregg, off his glove. In comes Uggla, quick toss, and he's out at first base. Big play by Dan Uggla off the deflection by Gregg.
And he did the right thing here. He fielded it with the glove. And that's the proper call. Just got him. That is a fine play.
Can you blame him?
Nope.
2 out and nobody on. Now Reyes, who's gone 0 for 3 today and 1 for 12 in this series. He hits it in the air to right center field. Going over it deep in the gap is Ross, and maybe they can't get it. It lands and hops over the wall for a ground rule double. So Reyes hits one beyond the reach of the diving Cameron Maybin, who may be a little shaken up out there. And now the Mets will get the tying run to the plate here in the bottom of the 8th with Beltran coming up.
How does this ball not get caught? With Cody Ross been playing a very shallow right field the whole game, and they got burned here. And the Mets got a shot.
Remember we talked about Ross catching that little flare to right by Reyes last time up. This time Reyes hit it beyond everybody's reach. So now Carlos Beltran, who tied the game in the 6th inning with a 2-run homer, comes up as the tying run in the bottom of the 8th. He hit the home run right-handed. Now he's up left-handed against Gregg. And he takes up and away for ball 1. That was off Scott Olsen to get the Mets even. And the Mets need Beltran again. And Carlos takes a strike. Carlos said after that grand slam off Gregg in Florida that he wanted to be up in the big spot again. He's got his chance. Ooh, 2-1. Ryan Theriot has gotten aboard for the Cubs, so they get Derek Lee to the plate as the tying run. Milwaukee 3, Chicago 1, 1 out of the top of the 9th.
That's Arthur Rhodes ready, the left-hander for Delgado, with Matt Lindstrom getting hot.
2-1 to Beltran. Foul back. He had a vicious cut. It's 2-2.
Yep. Good cut on that 2-1 fastball, Gare. Just missed it. He's just keeping the ball away.
Just away enough.
want to hit it out of the ballpark where you're going to have to pull it out of the ballpark. A pitch outside.
Two and two. Off the plate. And now a full count to Beltran. If he walks, then Delgado comes up with the tying runs on base. His 10th right-handed home run came today. 17 from the left side. 3-2. He walked him, and Delgado will come to bat with 2 men on, and I have to believe we're going to see Arthur Rhodes.
And here comes Freddie.
He makes the sign for the veteran left-hander who was acquired by the Marlins to get guys like Uggla and Howard and Delgado out in big spots. And this is the biggest of spots. Mets down 4-2 in the 8th with Delgado coming up against Rhodes. Mets down by 2. We'll be right back.
Brian Custer here with your in-game update. Pressure's on for the Mets. Top of the 9th, CC Sabathia facing Derek Lee. He hits into the double play. Sabathia throws a complete game, gives up 4 hits, 1 run. Brewers win it 3-1. And Gary, they're wearing wild card champion hats.
That would be a little premature, I think. So Sabathia pitches the complete game for the win, as Santana did yesterday. Now it's up to the Mets to try and rally against the Marlins bullpen, but a tough matchup for Carlos Delgado.
Well, Carlos against Arthur Rhodes' career, 33 at-bats, only 5 hits, but one of those hits was the home run.
Delgado faced Rhodes on Friday night and grounded out to second base. The Marlins have a modified shift on, with Amezaga, the shortstop, playing just to the left of second base.
Think this ball game's on in the Brewers clubhouse?
Yeah.
Well, this is it right here.
This is why Rhodes is here. Delgado up in the big spot. And Carlos swings and misses at the fastball in on him. 0-1.
Up and in. Wanted to go away, but can miss on the opposite side of the plate. Threw it by him. Triangle there, not quite.
The hole to the right of second base. Tying runs aboard with 2 down. And Delgado drives one to left field. Willingham back, he's there, and he makes the catch. Delgado hit it hard. He went to the opposite field, but Willingham was there to grab it, and the Mets are turned aside. 3 outs to go. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by IOTV, the leader in HD. Do you see in HD? And by Capital One Bank. North Fork Bank is now Capital One Bank. Same bank, new name. 9th inning, changes for the Mets. Luis Castillo comes in to play second base. Brian Schneider comes in to catch. Mets down 4-2. The Brewers have won. This could be the last ever inning at Shea Stadium. Jeremy Hermida leads off against Luis Ayala. Hermida pinch hitting, takes ball 1. Ayala came on to the 8th, gave up the home run to Uggla that made it 4-2. Then got the next 3 hitters. Hermida takes a strike. Scott Schoenweiss gave up the go-ahead home run by Wes Helms. Cameron Maybin on deck, and then John Baker in the top of the 9th. The Marlins try to end the Mets season on the final day for the 2nd straight year.
Silent here at Shea Stadium.
It has been such a roller coaster of emotions for this crowd today. Hit hard through the whole, base hit for Hermida, leading off the 9th. And the Marlins have their 8th hit of the game, their 2nd off Ayala. Well, win or lose, right after the game, get all your post-game info from Matt Yaloff and Lee Mazzilli here at Shea Stadium on Nissan Postgame Live. Plus, we'll have complete coverage of the last day at Shea ceremony right after the game here on SNY. Log on to SNY.TV afterwards for more from us, plus the latest post-game reactions and interviews on Nissan Postgame Extra. Maybin, inserted into the lineup today for the first time in the series, has gone 2 for 3. A single and a double. He's stolen a base. He's scored a run. Now hitting over 500 in the big leagues this year, and he takes ball 1. In the bottom of the 9th, the Mets will have David Wright, Andy Chavez, and the pitcher spot due up. They have only one player left on their bench, and that's Damian Easley.
That's a good last man to have on your bench.
Maben shoots one foul, and for Easley, it might be his last chance to do something that will finally get him to a postseason. He's never been. The Brewers are sitting by and watching to see if they will be in their first postseason since 1982. 1-1 to Maben with nobody out. And he takes a strike from Ayala, 1-2.
You know, you add Maben to the mix next year. You have that young pitching with Olsen, who pitched today. Very impressed with Velasco yesterday. Josh Johnson, Sanchez, Volstad, who pitched the first game. Andrew Miller, who came over in the trade from Detroit.
Swing and a foul tip held by Schneider, and that's the first out of the inning. So Ayala has his first strikeout, 1 away.
Pitch just beat Maben.
Now Jerry Manuel on his way out to the mound. You've got the left-hand hitting Baker coming up. And so it looks like Ayala is done. The Mets will bring in Pedro Feliciano, who's got more work than any Met pitcher in history. He'll get one more appearance this afternoon. 4-2 Florida in the 9th. We'll be right back. Met fans reliving their worst nightmare. Wes Helms leading off in the 8th inning with a pinch hit home run off Scott Schoenweiss. Dan Uggla following with a home run off Luis Ayala. The Met offense, which managed 2 runs yesterday, has managed just 2 runs today.
The catcher, John Baker.
And now Pedro Feliciano, who's been in more games than any pitcher in the majors this year and more games than any pitcher in Mets history, will get one more crack.
Well, Mike Stanton had the old Met record at 83 and 86 here for Pedro. Let's try to retire John Baker.
Baker 1 for 4, drove in the first run of this game with a single in the 6th. And he swings and misses the slider, 0-1. Oliver Perez went 5 1/3, allowed 2 runs, 4 hits. Joe Smith issued a bases loaded walk, then got 2 outs. Brian Stokes, a scoreless 7th, helped out by Andy Chavez's fine play. But then Schoenweiss and Ayala got burned in the 8th. And Baker watches outside, 1-1. Probably a 1-batter assignment for Feliciano with right-hand hitting Jorge Cantu on deck.
Friday night's game, didn't he? Feliciano hit Baker as Baker was trying to bunt.
The only pitch he threw that game in the 7th inning. Off the plate, and it's 2-1. The White Sox have won. They beat Cleveland 5-1. The Twins lead Kansas City 4-0 in the 8th. So it looks like the White Sox, well, definitely the White Sox will have to play a makeup game tomorrow with the Tigers. And then if there's a tie, they'll play a 1-game playoff of AL Central on Tuesday. That game will be played in Chicago. 3-1 now to Baker. So it could be quite a week in Chicago.
They could run Hermida here. 3-1.
Bobby Parnell getting ready for Cantu on deck. 3-1 to Baker. There's a strike with a fastball. 3-2.
Definitely run him here, right, Keith?
I would think so.
Got a 2-run lead.
You got Baker, who handles the bat pretty good. He's struggling against lefties, but he's got enough bat control to keep it in play, not to strike him out, throw him out, double play.
3-2. In there for a call, strike 3. So Feliciano comes in and gets Baker looking for the 2nd out.
Fastball outside corner, caught him looking for the slider, got set up.
First baseman.
So Feliciano gets his 1-batter out, and now the Mets will go to the right-hander to face Jorge Cantu, trying to keep this game at 4-2. Sanchez and Parnell were both up. We'll see which one of them comes into the game as Feliciano takes his exit. Parnell coming on. 4-2 Florida in the 9th. We'll be right back to Shea. Rookie right-hander Bobby Parnell tries to get the final out of the top of the ninth, but the Mets season hanging in the balance. 3 outs to play with, trailing 4-2, with the Brewers having already won. The Mets have to rally in the bottom of the ninth to force a 1-game playoff tomorrow. Jorge Cantu, the batter against Parnell, with 2 out and a runner at first. Again, the hitters in the bottom of the ninth for the Mets will be Wright, Chavez, and then Easley batting for the pitcher. Easley the only man left on the bench. Sixth major league outing for Bobby Parnell. Cantu 1 for 4 on the day. Last time up, Cantu made a bid to untie the game, which was even at 2 in the 7th, and he drilled one to left field, and Endy Chavez made a terrific catch on a ball hit over his head to keep the game tied. There's a strike, and it's 1-1 to Cantu. There are 56,059 people in this ballpark today, and you wouldn't be blamed if you thought listening that there was nobody here. It is dead silence. One. Just off the corner with the fastball, 2-1. Cantu keeps the inning going. Wes Helms, who hit the tie-breaking home run, would be next. Parnell, the 7th Met pitcher of the day. Where have you heard that before? And hasn't that been the theme for this team coming down the stretch of the season? Jerry Manuel trying desperately to mix and match out of his bullpen, trying to get the most out of a little. Blood from a stone, if you will.
Yes.
Some days it works and some days it doesn't. But the bottom line has been all through this stretch drive, other than when Santana pitches, the Mets have had to win by outscoring their bullpen, and so far today they haven't been able to do that. Two to Cantu. Driven in the air to center field. Beltran easing back, and he runs it down to end the inning. Final 3 outs for the Mets to play with at Shea Stadium. David Wright will lead things off at the bottom of the ninth. Endy Chavez and Damian Easley behind him. Right now, or it's over. That line score says it all. In the final regular season game at Shea, perhaps the final game at Shea, and the Mets only have 3 outs to make that change, with the Brewers having won on the strength of Ryan Braun's 2-run homer in the 8th and CC Sabathia's complete game 4-hitter. It's up to the Mets to try and come up with a couple of runs at least in the bottom of the ninth against the former Met farmhand Matt Lindstrom.
Well, the old Matt Lindstrom is traded over to the Marlins. Now their closer is he and Kevin Gregg have been flip-flop, and it's up to David Wright. Get something going.
David is 0 for 3 today. Came into the day with a 9-game hitting streak. Today he's lined to center, flying to center, and grounded to short.
Lindstrom can be wild. Everybody will be taking a strike.
And the curveball in for a strike to Wright. Endy Chavez out on deck. He'll be batting for the 2nd time in the game, and then the pitcher spot with Easley ready. 0-1 to Wright. Another breaking ball. That one sits high, and it's 1-1.
David's 3 for 6 off Matt Lindstrom lifetime.
And Chavez is on deck, is 2 for 3.
Well, it's on Lindstrom, no one up.
One to Wright. Breaking ball fouled off, so Lindstrom with that 99-mile-an-hour fastball has thrown 3 breaking balls in a row to Wright.
Uggla playing very much up the middle at second base. David, we know with 2 strikes goes the other way. Get him positioned a little more over here. With 2. Oh, these guys are having heart attacks. Look at this.
1-2 to David Wright. Up and away. No win or lose. Make sure you stay tuned for the closing ceremonies here at Shea Stadium. Dozens of former Met players are on hand and ready to put this building to bed. Even if the Mets do rally and force a game tomorrow. Lindstrom's 2-2. Wright fouls it off. David keeps himself alive. 96 miles an hour from Lindstrom. Starter Scott Olsen went 6, allowed 2 runs, 3 hits, giving up Beltran's tying home run. But Joe Nelson got the Mets 1-2-3 in the 7th, and he stands to be the winner. Mets couldn't score against Gregg and Rhodes in the 8th, and now Lindstrom trying to finish it off. Two to Wright. Foul back.
Big cut by David right there.
Can't be thinking home run here.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah, if it just comes a case where he's just saying, I'm not going to be an out.
It's just an aggressive swing. You know, because you got 2 strikes, you just can't shorten up and try to feel for it. I mean, it was a good, healthy cut on a fastball. Pretty hard one, too. Yeah, this guy throws hard.
7th pitch of the at-bat to Wright upcoming. And the breaking ball almost hit him. And it's 3-2.
Well, he's going to have to come with the fastball now. You would think.
The Mets understand the import of this situation, but then again, so does Lindstrom.
Yeah.
And he might be feeling some nerves, especially pitching against his old organization in this spot. 3-2 to David Wright. Popped it up. Dan Uggla retreats onto the outfield grass. And that's the first out in the bottom of the 9th. Andy Chavez bats for the 2nd time.
I don't know about you guys, but I just have had this queasy feeling in my stomach now for the last 2 innings. I think I can empathize with the Met fans.
Well, and also with Jerry Manuel, you know, installed as the interim manager in the middle of June, has done a fantastic job. You hope that his fate isn't decided in the next 2 outs. Chavez takes a strike.
And you see right there Wes Helms, the new 3rd baseman, and probably the hero of this game if the Marlins win, is playing in Endy, the threat to drag bunt.
Old school.
0-1 to Chavez. It's taken inside. Ball and a strike. Endy 2 hits and 3 career at-bats against Lindstrom. Everybody in this ballpark, 56,000 plus, standing but quiet. And prayer helps. Give it a shot. One and 1 to Chavez. On the ground, it's snared by Lindstrom. And the Mets are down to their final out at Shea Stadium. It is left in the hands of Damian Easley. 38 years old, never been to a postseason game. Appeared to have a chance for one. And unless Easley can keep it going, there will be no chance this year. Very similar to the faces we saw on the final Sunday last year. Ball 1 to Easley. Easley. On the outside corner, 1-1. And flashbulbs begin to go off with each pitch here at Shea, with fans understanding it might be the last pitch at Shea. Ceremonies after the game today. If it ends this way, they'll be rather somber. Time asked for by Baker, who's pointing out to the flashbulbs that keep popping out in the bleachers.
Well, we're not going to stop that. So I would think that you would want the flashbulbs. It could be a distraction to the hitter.
I guess he's afraid he's not going to be able to see that 90-plus fastball to catch it. One and one to Damien Easley with Church on deck, hoping. Check swing, and it's outside. 2-1. And with each pitch, more flashes pop. Vito tries to get the crowd going with the drum beat. It's not working right now.
It's not working. They're just.
That wasn't the drum beat. That's the Mets heartbeat.
Drum roll.
If Easley can get on, then maybe this crowd will make some noise. Right now, they can only hope. Two and one to Damien. Inside, ball 3. So Easley being patient, hoping to give Church a chance. And boy, would Church like another chance. He has struck out in each of his last 6 at-bats the last 2 days. Lindstrom behind 3-1. And Easley takes a strike. And now this grand old ballpark is down to its final strike.
There's all the flashes. Look at that.
Wow. Three and 2 to Easley. Ball 4. And the Mets are alive. And Church will come to the plate as the tying run. So Easley showing Ryan the veteran presence by taking that walk. And now Church. Ryan has struck out 3 times today. He struck out in all 3 of his at-bats yesterday. Half of those strikeouts have come looking. Cantor will play behind Easley. His run means nothing. The only one that matters is the one standing at home plate. Mets magic. That's what he used to say on the home run apple. The Mets need magic right now. Church watches outside for ball 1. If Church can keep it going, Brian Schneider would be next. Schneider just came in the game after Castro left for a pinch hitter. Behind him is Luis Castillo. 1-0 to Church. Hit in the air to center field. It's deep. Back goes Maben. He has room, and Maben makes the catch. And for the 2nd straight season, the Mets' year ends in abject disappointment on the final day. Shea Stadium will be put to bed. The Milwaukee Brewers have won the wild card, and the Mets are sent home by the Florida Marlins on the final Sunday for the 2nd straight season.
Well, I don't play anymore, and I'm stunned. And you thought off the bat here of Ryan Church that it had a shot. But no, the center field, Maben ran it down, and the Mets unable to overcome their bullpen. 5 runs scored in the last 3 games here at Shea.
Well, I told you, Gary, we had a conversation earlier in the year. I thought the Mets were going to win this division outright, and I was wrong. And this one really has to hurt for this bunch right here. They fought hard in the second half, and this is just a bitter pill to swallow.
Well, for the guys who were part of last year's collapse, this was a little bit different. This was a team that had to overcome a bullpen that had lost their closer and knew that as an offensive team they were going to have to outscore the opposition. They got the brilliant pitching performance from Santana yesterday to overcome a lack of offense, but they couldn't do it today as they scored just 2 runs in each of these last 2 games. The Marlins take 2 out of 3 just as they did last year. The Mets get no momentum from Santana's game just as they got none from Maine's game last year. And now the Florida Marlins doing the handshaking as the Mets clearly stunned as the end of their season has arrived.
Well, Gary, it might be different from last year, but with a team that's been put together with the talent that they have, they were supposed to be on the track to play playoff championship kind of baseball. And that's 2 seasons going home by October.
And you wonder, with 2 years in a row, how much of this team are they going to bring back next year? Can they bring this team back next year?
And when you think about it, if you go back a little bit, it's really 3 straight seasons now that the Mets have fallen short of their goal. They expected to be in the World Series in 2006, were beaten by a lesser team, the Cardinals, in the League Championship Series. Last year they blew a 7-game lead with 17 to play, and the Florida Marlins bust their hopes again by winning these 2 out of 3. The Mets had a 3.5-game lead this year with 17 to play. But again, they fall short of their goal. 89 wins, not enough, as the Brewers win the wild card, the Phillies win the East, and the Mets go home. And with it, the end of Shea Stadium. We will stay with you for the ceremonies that mark the end of this ballpark after a 45-year run as the home of the New York Mets and the home to so many other great events. But the ceremonies will take on an entirely different meaning now, with the Mets season having come to a close.
Yeah, they're going to be somber. I mean, I'm somber about it right now as you think about the end of Shea Stadium. Before the game, you just knew that it was going to be another game, right? Well, it didn't work out that way as Milwaukee got the job done with CC Sabathia. The Mets weren't able to score enough runs this entire weekend, and they come up short. It's got to be, it's painful.
Well, and, you know, in a 3-game series here, they've only scored 5 runs. Yeah. So there's plenty to go around. You're a 25-man team. You win and lose together as a unit. I'm just kind of speechless. This one's a real sock in the gut. Yeah. I just feel like I've been blindsided by someone hit me right in the stomach.
Well, last year it was 7 runs in the first inning, and you kind of knew it was over before it was over. This was a little different. This was a scoreless game into the 6th. The Mets fell behind. Beltran hit the 2-run homer to tie it. But then the Mets bullpen gave it up in the 8th inning. Back-to-back homers by Wes Helms off Scott Schoenweiss and by Dan Uggla off Luis Ayala. And the Mets just had no answer to come back from that body blow.
Yeah, it's just, you know, you don't know what the cumulative effect has been of having a bullpen without its closer, Billy Wagner, and just trying to mix and match and try to find someone to get someone out here or there, and it just ends up being the undoing like it's had for a long time. And without the closer, with the closer, Billy Wagner, you're probably not in this position today as you are on Sunday. But a very melancholy feeling here at Shea Stadium.
Well, Keith and Ron will be a big part of the closing ceremonies here at Shea, along with dozens of other former Met players, and we will come back inside the ballpark with all of the festivities to close this stadium. But first, it's time for Nissan Postgame Live. We're going to send it back outside Gate A, where Matt Yaloff and Lee Mazzilli are standing by. Guys?
All right, thanks a lot, Gary Cohen. 3,577 regular season games played by the Mets here. The final one is an absolute crusher, coming off of yesterday's performance, the game-tying home run today by Beltran, and then to just fall behind and go out without a whimper. I mean, this is just, Keith called it a punch in the gut. It's worse than that.
You know what? You look at yesterday's game, you look at Santana, and what you're thinking is, you know what? Hey, this is going to take us over the top. I mean, it was men against boys yesterday, and Santana, the game he just threw. Then you come out today, and they jumped out early, and then you have Beltran that comes out and ties the game up. And then the very next inning, they get a guy on base, and Chavez makes that great catch. So now you're thinking, as I am thinking, that, you know what, this is 06 again. You know, you get out of the inning, 3rd inning, Chavez makes the great catch. He's walking into the dugout. You think that is going to just take you over the top. I felt that. I looked at Chavez. I said, uh-oh, this is a good sign for the Mets right there with that catch. Never happened.
Never happened because the offense did almost nothing this entire weekend. 5 runs in 3 games. You can pin it on the pen. You can talk about how the pen didn't do this, the pen didn't do that. Oliver Perez maybe should have gone at least 6, maybe into the 7th. But you know what? 5 runs in 3 games.
It's not going to cut it.
Without Johan Santana, this thing is a complete washout this weekend.
Yeah.
September. There's a huge difference.
Huge difference. Absolutely. And
so
I think,
what are they going to do?
I think, Matty, they're going to have to be some changes, and they're going to have to be some big changes. You're going to meet collectively with the general manager and the owner, and what you're going to have to do is you're going to say, you're going to put it and write it down. You're going to say, what do we need first? Where are we looking first? Is it going to be free agency? Is it going to be trading? Are we going to look to build within, get some of our younger player development guys? So there's a lot that they have to do. There's no question that the Wilpon family, this is a big disappointment. Like you said, early on, they felt that they were going to go deep into October. It just did not happen. They didn't play up to the capabilities. I just felt that, this team was probably the most talented team in their division. But that doesn't mean that you always win.
Clearly not. And, you could point to injuries. Sure, they had a ton of injuries.
Yes, they did.
Right out of spring training. But you know what? Every team deals with them, and the teams that rise above make it. The Brewers had a number of them.
Yes, they have.
They had their number 2 pitcher go down. Really, their number 1 go down. They had to acquire another guy, and CC Sabathia pulls them through. Santana pulled them to today. To today.
Yes.
But the bats.
Yeah.
You have to keep going back. We know about the pen. The thing I'm stuck on is the lack of the big hit in key games down this late in games, in key games. Where does that come from when you come through with that? What is that? Is that in here?
I think that, if it's almost like one hit. You get that one hit in a key situation, will take you right over the top. But that one hit never came. Just never came.
It never came.
Just never came.
And, oh, man. I mean,
and you talk about the injuries. I mean, listen. They have a lot of injuries. We know that. But people don't care. There's an old saying, 80% of people don't care, and the other 20% are glad that you have the injuries because you're a New York team.
Right, sure.
You're a New York team, and they want to beat the New York teams, and you know what? But you have to play through the injuries. You have to find somehow, some way to get it done.
What's really interesting is at the end of last year, there were no major changes made before the beginning of 08. Willie stayed, Rick Peterson stayed. There were no major personnel changes except for your ace, of course. But that's a once every 5-day guy.
Right.
And we know it can have a trickle-down effect. It can help the pen because he goes deeper in games. But there was no major change to the everyday lineup. Agreed?
Agreed.
A major change.
But let me ask you this. Now, let's say that the major change that the Mets did make before spring training was Santana. Where are the Mets without Santana?
Well,
are they fighting on the last day for a pennant right now?
No.
My answer is no, they are not.
No, but and I understand, and I think that's a nice little argument if you're playing in Kansas City, if you're playing in Pittsburgh.
Right.
I don't think it should be. I don't think the argument should be where would they be without a guy. You're happy to be playing on the final day. I think the argument should be how do you get past the final day and play into October? This is New York. This is the Mets.
There's no question.
This is a tremendous payroll with a team that has individual talent that you can't hide.
Right.
There is talent in that clubhouse. What is it? What's wrong?
Well, that's a good question, and I'm not too sure they can answer that right now. I think that when you look in that clubhouse and you walk into that clubhouse like I did today, and you look around and see what you have, you're thinking, you know what? We're good. We have the talent in this clubhouse, but there might be one piece of that puzzle missing. And what is that piece? And I think that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to find that because there's a piece missing.
Well, you played on winning teams. You coached on winning teams. What is it? Are you looking for a guy who drives in 30 and 100? Or are you looking for a guy with the fire? The guy with the fire in the belt.
I want fire. I want a guy that's going to do his job and only his job and not worry about what that guy has to do and not worry about what the bullpen has not done. Okay? Don't worry. Well, the bullpen hasn't pitched very well. Hey, you can't worry about that. You got to go out there and pitch. You pick up the bullpen. You're a hitter, you pick up the bullpen. bullpen picks up. Now listen, the bullpen went back a few weeks ago where they scored, what, 23 scoreless innings. So at that time, they were doing a job. The offense wasn't.
Right.
So you need it to where it blends together, and each guy, one guy, has to take care of their job, their business, and then hopefully the next guy takes care of their own business, and so on down the line. And that's how you get a winning ball club. That's how the chemistry. Chemistry is a big part of a ball club. I'm a big believer in that. Guys have to blend together.
And we're waiting to hear Jerry Manuel. He's going to come out and speak to the media one final time at the final game at Shea. It turned out before the game, we were all kind of hoping it wouldn't be the final game here. It is indeed the final game. Shea is done. And when you talk about Manuel, you have to ask the question, did he do a nice job? Sure, because they won more than they lost.
Right.
But is it a shoo-in that he's back next year when the ending to this season is the same as the ending to last season?
Good question.
Omar's got a lot of questions to
answer. Yes, he does. Yes, he has a lot of questions, and you're talking about the manager, the coaching staff, but more, you're talking about the team. I mean, that's what you're going to have to rebuild now. You know, you're going to start somewhere, but, you know, for me, I'm looking at this team as a fan as well, and, you know, from a ball player and from a managerial side, and trying to put a team together. What do I do? Well, I need to get some youth back here. You have to get younger, and then I have to go to pitching. That's the thing. I mean, you know, I can get by not having a great offensive club, but if I have the pitching, I can stay in there. I can stay in the race. And I think that's what you have to go first. You're going to have to look at the pitching first and then go with it.
You know, when you look back at this season, there are going to be so many moments when we say, man, that loss hurt, or man, that loss hurt, because you could say it a couple of dozen times. There were tough ones, and the team responded. To me, because of the timing and because of how Daniel Murphy started off the game, started off the ninth inning with a triple the other night.
Right.
The Mets did not get that run in, which would have been a huge difference in the standings, which would have put them into the postseason, or at least put them into a tie-break situation.
And you think that carried over by not scoring a run?
I think that there are just so many times that a team could overcome a downer. That was the ultimate downer in a season that had a number of downers. Is it possible you just run out of gas at some point where you say, we can't keep overcoming our failures?
You can't run out of gas, okay? But you can run out of being outplayed, and that's a different thing, you know. Because I look back, I want to be a person that looks at as detailed. I'm a detailed guy when you have a ball club, and my details are in April and May and June. You have to have the details of having a good ball club to do what you need to do to win, and sometimes that's overlooked.
All right, Jerry Manuel now has taken the podium inside Shea Stadium for one final time in 08. Here's Jerry Manuel, brought to you by Citi.
Never expected anything like this. No, I really felt that we'd come out and do some things offensively. Oliver Perez gave us a great effort. There's no question about that. We just didn't get it done. We didn't get it done.
Jerry, you said all along that the only way to kind of get rid of last year was to get this playoffs this year. Do you feel even more of a burden now?
No, not really. Not really. I don't. I know that that weight is a part of us. But you know, I try to leave everything I can out there. So I don't really carry it. I know we have to talk about it and discuss it, but I really don't carry it, to be honest with you. I feel that it's unfortunate for the fans. It's very unfortunate because they were really tremendous, really tremendous. I had a good time. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed you guys for the most part. We had some good laughs. You know, we messed around a little bit. But no, I don't carry that weight. I know it's a part of this, and it'll always be mentioned until we get to postseason. So.
Jerry, what's the most frustrating, most disappointing part of this to you?
Well, obviously, We didn't win. Obviously, that's frustrating. I think probably the inconsistent way we played the last week. It was probably offensively more than anything. I knew we knew we were having some people out of place in the bullpen. We knew that. We knew that wasn't quite something that was going to hit on all cylinders. So we had to kind of mix and match, flip and flop, that type of thing. And you roll the dice and you make decisions, and you know, sometimes you come out looking good, but for the most part, when you don't have people establish roles at this time, you're really gambling. You know what I'm saying? It's really a gamble. So, but in saying that, we probably needed for a guy to step up, one or two guys to step up offensively to kind of lighten that load. That just was too much. Too much playing with that type of stuff was. That was too much for us. We couldn't overcome that.
Jerry, when you bring in Sean White, were you thinking him against Jacobs and then another move, or were you expecting them to go to the bench?
Well, I was guarding myself against another move because Sean White is our best crossover left-hander. So at that point, I didn't feel as bad about the decision, obviously, until obviously the guy hit the ball out the park. I said, dang, what am I doing? But anyway, no, I didn't feel bad because Sean White mostly a ground ball type of guy so far, you know, whatever. And we have had that same situation before with Helms, where we made sure that he hit the ball to the other side. I don't know if you recollect that in Florida, where we came in, brought a left, and hit a ground ball the other way. So that wasn't, you know, a problem for me at all.
Jerry, can you go through your thought process on when you did decide to lift Oliver, and maybe how tough that is, because you know then you are beginning this roll of the dice of all the bullpen guys you're going to have to go to get as many outs as you get.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a good question. With the being on the short day's rest, if I recollect, the inning before he gave up a few line drive outs. And then to give, I think maybe three consecutive hits, and then for, I think Jacobs kind of squared him up and hit him to left center, and we got that out. So I felt at that point, and that they had seen him enough. I felt at that point, if we could come in and get a ground ball, we'd be okay. I felt good to get out of that with just 2 runs. I felt that it was a job well done. Obviously, you get a sac fly, any type of thing other than a double play, you're gonna give up a run. I obviously didn't want to run the walk home, but that's what happened.
Is it problematic for you knowing, though, that once you pull that trigger, you're going kind of to the weakest point of your team for the rest of the game?
Yeah, but you still can't leave a guy in that you don't think or that you feel is having some issues, and he's on 3 days rest, and you know he's giving you a good shot. At some point today, we'd have had to go down there. You know what I'm saying? At some point, we would have had to go to our pen. But I thought we went there with people that we were using late, but still in a timely manner. Obviously, it didn't work out.
Jared, did you just address the team?
I thanked them. I thanked them for the effort. I thanked them for the respect that they gave the office of manager. And told them I had a good time. I enjoyed it. I think they helped me out a great deal I'm talking to a lot of people in the world this day because of those guys. You know, there's a lot of people calling me I ain't never heard from before. Hey, gangster, I don't even know you, but you know, that type of thing. But they were good for me. These guys, they were good for me. I wish I could have led them a little further.
Jay, I know it's not your decision, but do you feel in your heart that you've done enough to be brought back here next year?
Well, you know, I haven't. People have talked about that, and obviously you have a great deal of interest in a job such as this. I mean, this is probably one of the best places to be if you want to manage, if you want to do some things. You got some of the greatest fans in the world. You know, got a lot of good things going for you. But I have not discussed or anything of that nature at this point. I wasn't expecting to talk about that today anyway. You know, I wasn't expecting to entertain that thought.
Jerry, you put the inconsistent front on the offense. Is that due to you think the pressure of the situation more than anything?
That's a good question. I think a lot of that has to do with it. Understanding that there's a need to get this and to get that, but fighting to get it and knowing that, you know, there might be some struggles later to get those last 6 to 9 outs, that type of thing.
Anything else, guys?
Thank you.
All right, you're watching Jerry Manuel's press conference inside Shea Stadium, a quiet Shea Stadium. We're outside of Gate A, and let me tell you, you could hear a pin drop right out here as the disappointed fans leave Shea Stadium after the Mets are done for the season. We take a break. We'll come back. Closing ceremonies. You'll see them here on SNY.